Michael Rodríguez, sir, thank you again. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on the show, brother. I'm glad that you were able to break away to come do this. I know you're a busy man. You have a lot of stuff going on. So thanks for being here, man.
No, I really do appreciate the opportunity, hermano. I definitely love making time for those that are doing good things, man. So I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you. Before we get into the interview, I want to kind of read a bit about your background. So for folks out there that may not be familiar with your work or some of the things that you're working on now, this way it'll give them a little bit of a brief summary to kind of have a heads up and understanding of like who you are. So Michael Rodríguez is the president and CEO of the Global War on Terrorism Memorial Foundation. By the way, if you're not familiar with this is the man that is spearheading the movement for the Global War on Terror Memorial in Washington, D.C. So that is a massive, massive undertaking. And that's something that's going to be very big to our generation who's served in the military in the past 25 years. Huge. And we've got a memorial for every war, that the United States has been involved in up to, Gulf War, Desert Storm, and the GWOT generation deserves one as well, especially with all of the blood, sweat, and tears that was shed over the past 25 years of that. So I appreciate all the work you're doing for that. I know a lot of other people out there are going to be deeply appreciative of all the hard work that you've put into that. Let me see here. The congressionally tasked nonprofit with the mission to build our national GWOT Memorial in Washington, D.C. After 21 years in uniform, Rod was medically retired due to numerous combat and training injuries. As a Special Forces Green Beret, his last assignment was serving as a sniper instructor at the Special Warfare Center and School at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He's a New Mexico native who was deployed 10 times, 10 deployments. That is freaking unbelievable. Jesus, 10 deployments in service to our nation. Both of his grandfathers served during World War II, and his father served in Vietnam. His best friend, also known as the mother of his children, also served for 21 years, deployed 6 times as well. Their eldest serves in the U.S. Army currently and is stationed at Fort Bragg. He has completed 4 deployments. Rod is a fellow at the Explorers Club in Manhattan and an artist with his pieces on display in both public and private collections. He humbly speaks in support of veterans and their families, focusing on the need to increase understanding of life experiences between the civilian and military communities. Most importantly, and I like this ending. Most importantly, he's a proud abuelo, padre, and hermano to many. I love that. That's good. You are a friend to many people, and I'm sure your family, the accomplishments that you've had in the short period of time you've been on Earth is nothing to balk at. You've done a lot of things with your time on this planet, and there's a lot of people out there that could gain a lot from your perspective and your experiences. And I think that this is one of the reasons I was really excited to do this podcast with you today, to be able to share with folks out there who some of the incredible things that you've gone through in your life and the accomplishments that you've had in your short time here on this planet. Which, I mean, granted, we all have a very short time on this planet, so it's like, we got to do the best we can with the time we got. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I appreciate you being here again. I want to kind of start off a little bit with. I know it says you're a New Mexico native. Were you born in New Mexico? You come from there?
Yeah. Okay. So I was born in a small town in southern New Mexico. It's called Deming. It's on I-10 just really, really small town there. Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you in New Mexico for?
My entire childhood, right? So I joined the Army when I was 17 years old.
Did you have to get your parents to sign the waiver?
Yeah, that was a bit of a challenge, especially for my father. He wasn't really too supportive of it, given some of his experiences in Vietnam. But, he's supportive, once we just talked to him a little bit more about it. But, my whole family's from southern New Mexico. I like to joke around sometimes. So my family's from a part of the country where people ask sometimes, like, hey, so when did your family come to the United States, or when did we cross the border? I'm like, well, from a town in Columbus, New Mexico. And I said, well, we didn't really cross the border. The border kind of crossed us. So we're it's like right on the border of Mexico, right? So as our nation grew and New Mexico was annexed and the border was drawn, by the sheer grace of God, our family home was probably about 200 meters just north of the Mexico-U.S. border.
No kidding. Yeah, I mean, you said that your grandfathers fought in World War II, correct?
Right.
So obviously your family's been here for generations, and you guys have been huge supporters of the United States and believe in America, obviously patriots, like you don't fight in World War II or in Vietnam and the global war on terror. Your family lineage is serving the nation. So you guys have obviously got a vested interest and love this country and the opportunities that it's afforded all of us.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, man. And let me ask you this. What kind of things did you do when you were a kid?
So growing up, I played soccer,
Okay.
Yeah, I played soccer and then, I got into boxing when I was younger as well. So I kind of still train with that. I don't fight no more, but I did that growing up and I'm the oldest of four.
Okay.
3 younger brothers, of course, that help take care of that. With families, come from a very supportive, loving family, traditional, Mexican Catholic family.
Catholic? Okay.
Yeah. So I was
a lot of Catholics.
Boy. Yeah. Altar boy at the church. And it's a funny thing. So as a kid, I grew up back, in the 80s. I'm a little older. I was born in 74, so I'm 51 years old.
Yeah.
In the 80s, I got into Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, no kidding.
And back then, it wasn't cool to be a nerd. So me and all my homeboys, we would like hide. We had we'd save up to buy, the books and all that was expensive. They still are. And we would like secretly play Dungeons and Dragons because, you didn't tell anybody you played Dungeons and Dragons back then. So I was a little bit of a nerd as well.
That's funny. I'm kind of a nerd myself. I got a bunch of anime tattoos. And funny enough, when I first started watching anime, you used to get beat up for telling people you watched anime. So you kept it secret. You didn't tell anybody. Now it's cool. Playing Dungeons and Dragons is probably cool now.
Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, and then like Warhammer 40K came out in the 80s. So I got into that like at the start. I have a ton of Warhammer toys I'm at the point in my life now where like I buy toys for my grandsons and then I buy me a toy every now and then, right? So
don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. You know what I mean?
There you go. And then my sons got me into anime, and we always ask that question, hey, what are your top 3, right? If you ask someone what their top 3 anime is, you'll learn a lot about that person if they watch anime.
Yeah.
So
what was your top 3?
So mine, Jormungand was one of them, but then Akame got killed. Like, I don't know if you've seen that one, but that one, like, I watched it and I'm like, wait a minute, like that one got me.
Yeah.
And then, my third one, I'm always going back and forth on, but I think,
it's a tough one.
I think it's Black Lagoon. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. It's kind of a dark one, and that one's like really dark because that one might even be my number one. Sometimes it depends on my mood, but just check it out, watch it. But it delves into like death.
Okay.
It might be, to me, I watched it and then there were certain points, given some of my experiences in life and service particularly, how it touched on death and dealing with death and the brutality of it. And it's a very interesting one. So Black Lagoon.
They that's one of the things that I think that has gotten people more interested in anime is like the storytelling aspect, because there's always some sort of way that they highlight very human experiences that folks can relate to regardless of what walk of life they came from, whether it be from like, whether they served in the military, whether they were, grew up in the hood and were poor and there was just a lot of violence surrounding them all their life, and then there's a lot of stories of people overcoming adversity, and everybody faces adversity. So it's like that. And it kind of gives people hope that, I can get over this too, if they got over that crazy scenario. And like, maybe there's like a little fantasy involved, but there's a lot of good, like, I guess you could say like daily lesson type stuff that you could learn something that's pretty valuable from a lot of that stuff. I encourage people to check some of that stuff out occasionally, just because it's good to have like some sort of, especially as a kid, if you don't have any mentors or good teachers in your life, maybe you learn something that, from that about like, hey, because they do a lot of like laying out like moral foundations and like how to be a good, honorable human being and things like that. And I've always appreciated that aspect. So in any case, so you did some Warhammer 40K, did some D&D, some anime. You said you joined at 17, and when you joined at 17, what contract did you sign up for? Was it just like 11 Bravo? Or?
No. So when I enlisted, so the long-winded story of it is so I graduated high school right when I was about 16. At one point, I used to be really smart, so I skipped a grade in school.
Oh, wow.
And so I tried college, and I was not mature enough for that. I was very, as a kid, I was very very obedient, but I was very shy, very quiet, very reserved. So then I tried to convince my father to let me to join, because that's what I always wanted to do growing up. I played with the Green Army men I get from Kmart. That was my toys, and I collect them. And, joined the Army when I was 17, and I got my father to sign the contract under the promise that it'd be a delayed entry, and I'd wait till I turned 18. So he let me join when I was 17, and then right after I found a contract that would let me leave. But what I wanted to do back then is always wanted to be a special forces guy. I always wanted to be a Green Beret, and it was like Rambo, right? The First Blood, and then I saw that before I saw the Green Berets with John Wayne, and I just loved. I was like, damn, that's cool. The thing I liked about Rambo was he was just trying to get through, right? If anyone watched his First Blood Rambo, the guy was just like, look, man, I'm just trying to get through. And, he was carrying his weight. And I think what I identified with that was, he had his post-traumatic stress that I think people watch that and look at it at a different lens and look at what the gentleman was dealing with. Yeah. And how he wasn't welcomed back into society. It's a story about a Vietnam veteran. Yeah, that was come back and just shunned, and then all right, you kick the bear, now the bear's gonna come after you, right? Yeah, and so that always appealed to me as a child, because growing up, my father, he thankfully he's still with us, but one of the reasons he didn't want me to join was some of his experiences, and I remember Vietnam. As a kid, right? I remember as a kid, I would hear him at night. Like the nightmares, the night terrors. And then thankfully so with us, he battles Agent Orange. I mean, he's a phenomenal. I mean, that's, I will never be the man that he is. I will try to every day, but that's my, my true north is my father.
What branch was he in?
He was an Army guy.
He's an Army guy.
And so all of that kind of as a kid impacted me. So I was like, that's why I wanted to be a Green Beret. Okay. Right. Yeah. Charlie Sheen came out with Navy SEALs too. That was cool. Oh, but that was just, I don't know. There's something about the struggles that he was going through. I urge anybody to watch it now and look at it a little bit differently, as opposed to just some badass that some country folk messed with and got jacked up because of it. Yeah. But look at it from a different point. And as a kid, it just resonated with me, and I was like, man, because I identified that. I saw that this badass as my dad. Okay. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I can, hopefully somebody be like my dad. Yeah. Right. I want to understand more about my dad. I want to, and whenever my dad or my grandfathers or my great uncles, because my grandfather served, but all their brothers served as well in World War II. And one of my uncles was was a part of a bombing crew that, as he puts it, delivered good news over Germany. That's what he said. delivered good news over Germany. I'm like, you were on a bomber.
You were dropping bombs.
23 missions, something just crazy.
You weren't dropping pamphlets.
Yeah. No, he was not doing that. But, they would always talk about those to their left and right. Right? Yeah. They never talked about the war, never glamorized it. So those are my heroes. So then when I saw First Blood, Rambo, if you look at it, the most endearing parts of that movie are when he's going to see his friends and the impact when he finds out that one of his friends passed away. Yeah. Right? Like that. So that's that familia, that aspect of my familia. And then here's another way to build your familia. Because I always believed growing up, that's how you make a positive impact in the world. Is you start with your familia, start close and support your familia, be there for your family. But familia isn't always blood, as you and I know. And many of your listeners and people watch, but I look at some of those that I've gone overseas with, been downrange with, or just served with. Period. We don't have to get shot at for me to follow. Like call you my brother or my sister. Yeah. That grew, so that always appealed to me as well. So that kind of drove me a little bit to go into that. But at that point in the Army, you couldn't go in to be a Green Beret. You had to be a E4 promotable. So I was like, well, I'll go be a Ranger, right? So I do my research. Okay. And I was like, well, I'll go be in one of the Ranger battalions. So then I go to the MEPS, and of course, I fell for the tricks. I'm like, hey, I want to be in Ranger battalion. They're like, well, you need airborne. Here's an airborne slot, and it was I was a 16 Sierra at the time, which is a man-portable air defense, the Stinger guys, right? Oh, okay. So it was 16 at that point, but it's changed.
We've got 14. Something similar in the Marine Corps. It's called low altitude air defense.
Yeah, and we all go to the same school too at Fort Bliss. Okay. Right. So when I was there, they had Marines doing the exact same thing. Yeah. And they're like, do this. When you get to airborne school, the Ranger battalion recruiter will come around, and then you can say, hey, look, and they'll pull you over there. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do that. So I basic training, AIT, go to jump school. They're like, hey, the Ranger recruiter is going to be here. Show up. I was like the first one there. And the guy was first at the door. Line? Yeah, I was like standing there, and he opens the door. He comes in, opens the door at the area where they told us to gather, the office or the classroom. And he goes, when you walk in, he opens the door and he goes, all right, what's your MOS? And I told him, like, I'm a 16 Sierra. And he goes, what the F is that? And I'm like, man, Port River Defense. Like a Stinger goes, yeah, we don't F need you. We teach 11 Bravos to fire those. Get the F out of here. I'm like, well, shit. I didn't know that, right? So I was like, I'd already knew where I was going from then, my assignment. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to Fort Drum, right? So
Fort Drum is in New York, right?
Upstate New York. And I'm glad that happened because shortly after me getting to Fort Drum, in late 92, come 93, I got to deploy to Somalia, with less than a year in the Army.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So I was that in support of the stuff going on in Mogadishu and everything?
Well, a lot more that went on in Somalia than what occurred on those fateful days that we're familiar with, the Black Hawk Down, And if anybody hasn't, I'm sure everyone's watched the movies, but check out the latest thing that came out, like the docuseries about it. It's pretty amazing.
What was the operation called that was going on in 92?
I think that was Gothic Serpent, but the whole operation that started was called Operation Restore Hope. And what got us into Somalia is, it wasn't initially to go after the terrorist ID, that was the warlord in Mogadishu. Yeah. It was because the warlords were seizing the food for the famine that was occurring in Somalia. They were seizing the ports in Mogadishu and Kismayo, which was to the south of Mogadishu. So the U.S. military was sent in to ensure the food got there. Yeah. And that was part of what the mission I was on. I wasn't there. So we would go into Mogadishu, pick up the rice and escort the convoys and, I say fight our way out of Mogadishu, but you get pop shots at you. They're just because they weren't happy about the fact that we took their food source. Right?
Yeah, because you're taking it from the warlords and giving it to the people.
Right. And then we would drive it with these jacked up trucks from African trucks, right? And then just escort them sometimes a day, 2 days to get to the distribution sites. And the furthest inland I got was a place in Baidoa. And it was the NGOs just trying to distribute food, CARE, Concern, ICRC. And that was what I did. That was just a young 18-year-old, I think the dumbest private in the Army at the point, that was my mission.
Humanitarian aid mission, basically.
Right. So there was a lot going on, at that point outside of then, when TF Ranger came in and then they were, okay, well, let's cut the head off the serpent, right? Let's try and find the people that are do what they did, but there was still a lot of other humanitarian aid that the majority of everyone else that was deployed was doing.
Yeah. That was a big deal. I mean, that was during Bill Clinton and everything. Yep. And there's a lot of controversy involving a lot of that stuff. I know there's a lot of budget cuts, a lot of all kinds of stuff going on, a lot of geopolitics stuff. But yeah, I mean, obviously like the Marines had a pretty big hand in the things that were going on in Somalia. Yep. The Army obviously had a huge hand in it.
The Marines were the first one there. Yeah. They got there in December of 92.
Yeah. And there was a lot of fighting. But then there's, they transitioned from like a lot of offensive operations to humanitarian aid, like you're talking about. And, then you guys were trying to get food back to the populace, trying to do the right thing to help people. I know that's one of the things that we try to do is like, we try to take these destabilized regions, as you well know, and, try to get it back to some semblance of normalcy or whatever. And very complicated. Like you said, I mean, there's like so many different factions, warlords that are fighting over stuff. There's still stuff going on there now. You got Al-Shabaab and all these other, it's still a crap show over there.
It is. So I was in Somalia, my first deployment in Somalia. And then I was in Somalia in 21. Still kidding. Doing, opportunities to present themselves, right?
Wow.
For guys with backgrounds like mine. So my last deployment was Somalia. So my first and last.
How was that
there.
going
It hasn't
back?
Changed, man.
Same thing?
I was like, I got there. So I was there in 93 and I'm there in 21 and I'm like, man, nothing changed.
That's gotta be the weirdest experience, man.
It was very different. I will say that. I was like, this has not changed one bit.
It's so weird.
It's just different players, different warlords calling themselves different things.
Yeah.
Hasn't changed.
Same thing. That's so crazy to think about.
It speaks to the cultural aspect of that region and how they live and govern themselves. And whether we like it or not, we have to, you should understand that. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, that part of the world, man, it's tough. It's a ungovernable place in some aspects, almost. Anyway, so you went to Somalia in 1992, and you came back from that deployment. So that was your first one. Where did you go once you came back to Fort Drum?
So got back to Drum. We were there shortly because at that point, a 10th Mountain Division was always seemed to always get sent everywhere.
You were in 10th Mountain?
Yeah, 10th Mountain Division.
Okay, gotcha.
So I was still there. We came back, and then shortly after that, there was I should say not the first, but the military coup in Haiti that occurred. So then we got spun up for that because we were on DRF at the time, is what it was called, where you're alert.
Yeah.
So we got the brigade I was with. We got sent to Norfolk. We got on the USS Eisenhower and part of on the carrier group with our birds, and then went down. There were two aircraft carriers that sent down there, positioning for an invasion of Haiti.
Yeah. That place is also got a lot of problems. Yeah, I know. Still, man.
So that was my next deployment. So we went in, and and thankfully General Cedras, that was his name, the guy that threw the military coup. He finally was like, all right, maybe I can't. I shouldn't. Maybe step down. Let me get out of here. Right? Yeah. And because there were two aircraft carriers off the coast, the JSOC 1, and there were guys already on land, right? JSOC, and there was SF teams there and all this. And then, of course, circling above was the 82nd and the Ranger Battalion. And they're like, they don't want to open that can. Right?
No. No.
So everyone else was, I guess, cooler than us. So they're like, okay, so they all left, but then we stayed. They're like, okay, we got to make sure that it goes good. Everything's fine. So then we still went in, 10th Mountain did, from the USS Eisenhower, and then set up and made sure that the handoff went well.
Okay.
Right. Which is really transition. Right. To make sure it was smooth transition. I was there another, I think it was there 8 months, 7-8 months.
Yeah. And
in Port-au-Prince.
Was there in Port-au-Prince? Mm-hmm. Okay. Were you guys doing any type of humanitarian stuff, or just kind of making sure?
There was some of that. A lot of it was just making sure that handoff was, but and I guess that's humanitarian in itself, ensuring that people got what they needed, that the populace wasn't, subjugated or anything,
there wasn't roving cannibals and stuff like that, we had recently.
I think the worst thing that happened while we were there was a tropical storm came by, and
while you were there?
Yeah. And, true to military fashion, the compound that we stayed at was, this is crazy. And I'm not diming anybody out if they happen to be decision makers at this point. But we were trying to find a space for us because we were occupying tents, and we were in these little, and they're like, we need to build a space for us. Yeah. So no crap, man. I was part of the security detail that was going in. They found the only open area where there wasn't anyone living was a dump. A dump.
Oh, God.
Like trash, like a dump.
Yeah.
And this is Haiti now. So it's
like a third world country dump.
A third world country
dump. Worse than American dump.
Yeah. So imagine the nastiest dump you can imagine, and then multiply that a few times. Jesus. And they brought in dirt, filled it in, flattened it out, and that's where they put us.
Oh my God.
It was disgusting. So when the tropical storm came,
oh no, it flooded out, and all this stuff came up.
It was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we so many of us were sick. So many of us were it was just,
I can't imagine.
It was pretty nasty.
The infirmary and the aid areas were probably just overflowing.
And not everyone was there. It was the 10th Mountain guys that I was with, but some guys got to stay on, the airfield, and then some other compounds that were more, but I was part of the group that got put at the dump.
Oh man. Did you get sick while you were there?
I did. Yeah. It was almost common, at least once a month, you'd be oh man.
Everybody got VGE or something.
Yeah. Just some type of
coming out of both ends.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jesus.
It was good time. So I'm not diming anybody out, but
it's history. It is what it is, man. It happens.
It is.
So you did the Port-au-Prince, the Haiti deployment, and you came back from there. Were you still with 10th Mountain when you got back?
Yeah, I was still.
How much longer did you have with 10th Mountain?
So I had another year and a half. So I was there till about 96. And so my first two deployments, I always saw Green Berets, right? I would see them and I'm like, oh, there they are. They weren't wearing all the crap we were wearing. And I remember the team I ran into or saw, I didn't talk to them.
Yeah.
In Somalia, they had a pet monkey. And as a young 18-year-old on deployment, they had a monkey with them. Riding the Humvees with them. And I would see them with this monkey. And I'm like, they would just hang out with them. And And I was like, man, all the more reason to be a Green Beret. Like, dude,
cool,
they got
man. I want a pet monkey.
so I would see him. And then, so at that point in my career, I was, you know, I was about to make E5 sergeant, and I was like, okay, maybe I can, you know, I can put in my packet to go to selection. Yeah. But toward that point, you know, I had just got married to my first wife, and we were expecting a child. I'm like, well, I wanted, you know, La Familia is just like, all right, well, I'm about to have a baby. Let me just wait a little bit.
Yeah.
But I had a PCS, so I said, well, maybe, and then, you know, everyone has that, I think everyone does, but has that, like, after your first enlistment, do I want to do this forever? Yeah. Or do I want to, so let me try something. So I got stationed at White Sands Missile Range, and what I did when I got sent to White Sands after Drum was, as an air defense, like a Stinger guy, I just went out to one of the launch complexes, worked for Raytheon. We had all the scientists, we were testing everything, all the countermeasures and the new upgrades. And I just fired Stingers. That was all I did.
Just firing Stingers.
I would sit up there, and they'd set it up, and I, you know, would fire, like, they would bring in, sometimes they would have a drone, like F4s from Holloman Air Force Base, like real aircraft. Yeah. And they fly, and they have all the countermeasures on it. Like, okay, we'd shoot those. We'd shoot, you know, SA-7s, SA-13, like then I got to fire the Soviet equivalents.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So it was cool, but I was like, and I was close to home because I'm from southern New Mexico. Yeah. But that's when I realized, I started thinking a lot about my first two deployments. And it was my first deployment when I was in Somalia and doing the humanitarian stuff, right? I didn't know the military did that stuff. Yeah. Right? I didn't know we provided that. And, you know, I remember the first time I got to Baidoa with the food, you get to this camp, if you can imagine, I mean, anyone can imagine, and it's all children. Their parents are dead or died of HIV AIDS or in some of the kind of the wars that were going on there, in the tribal wars.
Yeah, they're just displaced.
And you see these children get up in textbook famine, right? Distended bellies, no hair, some hair, missing teeth, malnutrition, severely malnutritioned. They'd see us coming, and you'd see these, like, droves, I mean, hundreds sometimes. Kids, you see them in these little tarp buildings, tents, huddled together, getting up. And these are children, like, I'm not exaggerating, like living moment to moment, right? That's oppression. Yeah. That I've seen, like, how bad people can be to each other. Yeah. And they would come up, and I'm an 18-year-old, right? I joined the Army, like, oh, I'm going to, you know, remember I said Rambo and all that, right? Yeah, yeah. And I see to this date, I've never seen anything more beautiful than this, but these children, these humans living moment to moment, but those are the most beautiful smiles I ever saw. Right? Like joy, like hope.
They had hope.
Right? That, okay, these guys are here. They were pretty sure they'll live another day. Yeah. And that, like, bam, you know, that hit me hard. Yeah. And that's where I was like, man, I want to do this the rest of my life.
It was in that moment you realized?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would always reflect back on that moment as I was at White Sands doing, like, I mean, I was working like 9 to 2. I was off every Friday. Yeah. You know, it was just, and I was at home, and my son was born at this point, my oldest. And I was like, nah, I need to do more. So then I put in my packet. To go to selection shortly after.
Most people don't get that experience in America because you just don't get the exposure to it, other than if you're seeing it on the internet. You know, that kind of an experience. I don't know how that wouldn't change your perspective on life. You know, and I've seen, you know, I've seen some people that are suffering from hardship in other countries as well. Like, just, you know, in my brief period in the Middle East, which I didn't go into the Middle East until 2023, you know, there's different things happening there at that point than it was during the other parts of the GWOT. But, you know, when you look at, like, how hard some people have it in some of those countries, you know, it makes you think, wow, it's like the people that are having a hard time in America are, you know, would be like living like the middle class in some of those places, you know, which is, it's hard to wrap your head around because we don't have that kind of thing happening here in America. And it definitely puts things in perspective for you, especially, you know, like you said, seeing a bunch of children who were displaced. Their parents might've been, they might have lost their parents or maybe they were displaced from their home due to war. A lot of child soldiering stuff happening in countries like that because there's just no hope. There's no food. There's no structure. There's no infrastructure. The government's like being ran by warlords, like you're saying. And there's real oppression, like you said, that people don't necessarily get exposure to here in the United States because we've got it so good here. We forget. It's easy to not know. And if you don't get exposed to it, it's hard to really wrap your head around like that, to understand like the real level of desperation that some people have because they're living in the muck, so I could see how that would impact me for sure, seeing something like that. And I can understand why you felt the way that you did. So that was like the thing that kind of kept you going even when you were in White Sands. And then when was it while you were in White Sands that you decided like, hey, I need to try to go to selection?
I would say it's like right after the birth of my son.
Okay.
I brought him home, my first monster, right? My
first monster.
One, yeah. And,
Monster one.
Yeah. And I would sit there and I look at him and, man, it's just, when I think about, he's a grown man with his own family and a soldier, right? So now, but I still see him as, it's just, God, I was like, okay, remember I said my father is my true north, right? That's the guy I want to be like. And I was thinking, to him, I go, am I setting the right example, right? Am I, I think I can do more. I think I can do more. And the reason I say do more is, or I say I need to do more. And so before I joined the Army, my father had this conversation with me, and I didn't understand the wisdom at this 17-year-old pendejo, right? Like I didn't know what he was telling me, right? I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 18, I was an idiot.
Yeah, when he finally decided, okay, mijo, I'll go ahead, so to let me enlist, he was like, I was like, Dad, I wrote something. We were having a conversation about me going, and he was like, okay, mijo, all right, I'll support you. He says, but there's something I want you to understand. He says, again, he served in Vietnam during the Tet Offensive.
During the Tet Offensive.
Oh, wow. His best friend growing up, his first cousin, my second cousin, is on the wall, and he's on the Vietnam Wall.
Really?
So there's different experiences for him. And he said, Mijo, look, you're gonna see things or do things, or things are gonna happen to you. They're gonna be with you the rest of your life. People are going to ask you to do things that they think you can't do. Just do more. Whatever is asked of you, whatever is there, just do more. And I was like, okay, Dad, give them the North and the South. I didn't really understand what that meant until fast forward. The reason I bring that up now is because we're at this point in my career where it really hit me. So I was in selection, right? So it was right there. I put in my packet of selection for White Sands, and then I got, I trained up. I was trying to prepare for everything I do.
Yeah.
So I trained up and I got there, and I remember there was a moment during individual week where we were on a ruck, and it's just like, all right, you're being timed, you're being assessed, follow the cones. You have no idea how far you're walking. You don't know if you're doing 4 miles, 12 miles, 20 miles. You don't know, but you're being assessed.
Yeah.
And then you got other guys there that are just like, oh, okay, well, do I race this guy? How do I pace myself? What is that? It's just testing you to like, okay, in an unknown scenario, what are you going to do? How are you going to react? Are you going to keep going? So I remember there was a moment I was there and I trained up. I mean, White Sands is at like 4,800 foot elevation. I used to be a really, really good runner. I mean, I think my fastest 2 mile time, I was like a high 940 something.
940?
Yeah, I was sub 10, man. I used to be really athletic.
That's wild.
So, I was always like one of the first guys to finish during a lot of the events.
Yeah.
But I remember this one day, I was just like, oh my God, I was getting in my head. Like, do I need to do more? Do I need to do this? And I used to carry my son's sock in my BDU top. I had it balled up. So I would like rub it for like, as a reminder, like, okay,
you're doing it for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, everyone has those moments of clarity where you're in a position of suck, right? You're like, why the hell am I here? I put myself here. What are you doing, bro? Come on.
I made decisions that I arrived here from.
So I was in that moment and I was just like, but then I heard my dad, just do more. And then I just started focusing on what my dad said, and I was doing more steps, faster. And then I realized the beauty in that, and I reflected, because in those moments, I don't say meditate, but if you think about something else, it kind of takes your mind. So I really started diving into what my father said on this endurance event, right? This unknown, this evolution of getting kicked in the throat, at selection. So I was thinking about it, and I realized my father, when I played sports, whatever it was, he never said, do your best. Okay, Miko, good, do more. And we were really good. Like my soccer team growing up, we were the only ones ever to beat the Juarez team. So Juarez would come over, Juarez, Mexico. They had one team. They would send to El Paso and Las Cruces to just beat everybody, right?
Because they're just like ballers.
You think about Juarez, Juarez, Mexico, they got a big pool to draw from. So they got the best kids in this multi-million, all these millions of people that live there, and they'd send them north to just beat the Americans. And even then, I remember the time we beat them, no one had ever beat them. My father said, oh, that's great. Just do more next time. And I'm like, okay, Dad, do more. So back to that selection, I realized the wisdom of what my father was sharing me that fell short my entire life until, my early 20s. And if you say do your best, what's your best? What is your best? If you say you're doing your best, then that's a self-imposed limitation we have placed. Because how do I know your best? I don't know your best.
Yeah.
If you say you do your best, then you said you did your best. But do you know your best? I don't think any of us ever know our best.
I certainly don't.
You see what I mean? So then I started thinking about that. And I'm like, holy crap, that's what it means. Just do more.
Yeah.
Take one more step. Whatever it is that you do, just do more.
Yeah.
So then, I kind of jumped ahead, but that's, I wanted to do more for my son because I thought about I need to do more for him. But even then, by me saying that, because I always heard my dad say that, I didn't know what it meant until I started doing it. And I was in a position where I wanted to quit.
Yeah.
Right. We're all in those positions where there's almost clarity where things suck. Like, I want to tap out, dude. Why am I here?
Yeah.
But I reflected again back to other situations where, particularly in combat, you can't tap out because those to your left and right are depending on you. There's no tapping out. There's always doing more. In combat. Always. And as a young private, I remember there was a scenario where I saw a leader pretend to know something they thought they knew, and it resulted in the loss of life. And he wasn't doing more. He was just allowing his own personal ego and opinions and feelings and get in the way of stuff. And he wasn't doing more. He was hiding. So anyway, all of that factored into me that. And it was in that moment where my father, right, is a laborer's entire life. He graduated high school, served our nation. I mean, he played football in high school, didn't have shoes, right? Like that's the family I come from. Yeah. And, I'm proud of that. I'm very proud that, we're from, very, very modest family. Don't have a lot, but I'm proud of that. And it was that wisdom that man shared with me that I still carry today. Yeah.
And so that helped you get through selection, which you faced a lot of adversity. And how long was selection at the time?
24 days.
I know it's like varied between 3-4 weeks, somewhere in there.
It was 24 days.
Okay. And then did you go straight to the Q course right after that?
Yeah, right after that, I went back to White Sands, and then it was a quick turn and burn. And then I got orders almost immediately to go back to Bragg.
Okay. And so you went through the Q course, which was that like roughly a year long at the time, or?
I was in 18 Delta. So when you go to selection for us, you enter the pipeline, you can put your like, I want to be this, I want to be this. I didn't really know that much about special forces other than seeing them, and the possibility of a pet monkey was there.
The possibility of a pet monkey was enticing enough for me.
It was on the table, man, in my mind. Right.
I love it.
So I was like, weapons. I grew up hunting with my father. Those very precious. That was the only time I really got to spend time with my dad.
Yeah.
And it was funny. It was like the best times with my dad when we were there and we couldn't talk, because they shut up.
Because you got to be quiet. Yeah.
Quiet. So I put weapons and then Bravos, and then like engineer the demo, and building stuff, Charlies. And then I didn't want anything to do with radios. I have always hated radios. And I was like, well, Delta would be fine. The medic. And everybody knows, that's a 2-year course. That's like the hardest. Like more people fell out of that course academically and physically. I mean, it's just a lot.
Is it Delta?
18 Delta. Yeah, those are the medics.
Okay, like Special Forces medics.
Yeah, Special Forces medical sergeant. And so then the Echo. So when I got my orders, they're like, you're gonna be an 18 Delta. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to the long course, right? I'll be there. So mine was 2 years, the pipeline. So the number of reasons that the 18 Delta course is the more people fail out of that. What would happen academically, it's almost like the entire POI is a better way to say it, of becoming a PA is jammed into that, right? So we do everything from dentistry, veterinary medicine, laboratory, surgeries, of course, combat trauma.
Yeah.
We do rotations at hospitals. I mean, it's
like ERs and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's all encompassing because in third world countries, you're the guy, not just for your team, but then also as special forces, by through and with, they work with.
You're like their doc.
You're everything.
Yeah.
Like we would have lab seps. I could cultivate and culture and do labs on your blood or any other fluids.
Wow.
And tell you what it is that you have, and then, prescribe the correct, whether medications, yeah. Antihelminthics, whatever it is, if you have some type of parasite or something.
Yeah.
But it's like becoming a doctor, but you're a doctor with many hats, and your depth of, about this much stuff, but just enough to where, okay, maybe I need to dive in if there's something else there. So
that's wild. I didn't realize how intense that training was to become a special forces.
Yeah. And then of course, if you're in the pipeline longer, inherently it's harder because, they're still weeding you out. Selection is never ending. There's selection, but then selection is never ending.
Yeah.
In the Q course, the pipeline, you're still there. Like if you exhibit something or something comes out, or you fail to meet a standard, they'll drop kick you. So
you get recycled.
You will get one chance, depending on the individual. Sometimes if the guy's a turd, they're gonna wash you out. There's no shame in that. They're like, oh, okay, get rid of that guy. He's not a right fit.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't be in the Army.
Yeah.
It's just not a right fit for us.
Gotcha. So
if you're around longer, then the liability is there, right? Because you're on the table more. There's more instructors. There's more people watching you. So I think, and I'm not just saying it's because I'm an 18 Delta, but I think, when you find 18 Deltas, they're a little bit different. You know, they say we're weird, but that's fine. Right? But it's harder. I think we started in my 18 Delta class with like 70 some guys. And my graduating class was there were 14 of us. That actually made it all the way.
70.
Yeah. And what they would do with the guys, because some of it's academics. I'm telling you, man, it is hard.
Yeah.
If you couldn't fail it academically, then they would typically the 18 Deltas, if they looked at it, because you do psychological testing and aptitude testing, and they look at your GT scores. Those are the smartest guys. Those guys have the highest scores because of the academic challenges that are presented. So then they're like, well, the guy just isn't smart enough to be an 18 Delta, but make him be a commo guy. Because when I was going through the Q course, they were still teaching Morse code, and that was killing people.
Morse code.
Mm-hmm. So that's how old I am. I know I'm dating myself.
Any of the
here.
18 Deltas now are like, what?
Yeah.
Anyone that's listening, if you're an 18 Delta.
The commo guys, know what they're like, it was like a death sentence. That was almost a motivation to study more. Like, I don't want to go learn this Morse code stuff.
Oh my God.
So they would send them to be an 18 Echo. And a lot of them were great. And sometimes, so they would I don't want to say cycle them down. Those are my peers, right? But they would move them over to one of the other specialties on an ODA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did that for 2 years. You still had to learn a foreign language in addition to doing that as well, right?
So yeah, I'll tell a little bit of truth here. So I grew up speaking Spanish, and I got assigned to 7th group. So it was Spanish.
Oh, so you were good.
So I was good, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll learn collegiate Spanish. Maybe I'll learn some, because, you're expected to go to, third world countries.
Yeah.
Or for us was down south. This is pre 9/11.
Yeah.
And, interact with, national leadership, local leadership, I'm talking about educated people that run these countries, or the president or the secretary. I mean, you interact at the highest levels, because sometimes at least previously, there would be one ODA in a country, in South America, and that was the embassy, but that the mill group that's them. So you would, whether it's helping them, working with them, you would interact with their Secretary of Defense or War or whoever, right? So I wanted to be prepared. So I said, let me do, it wasn't, because I didn't have a Spanish test, right? Outside of them looking at my last name and maybe making an assumption I speak Spanish, or hearing me talk and maybe hear my accent a little. Yeah. So let me learn Spanish. And I didn't learn anything, man. You didn't learn anything? It was a 4-month break for me. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to complain too much.
You were good. All right.
So I was good. And at the graduation, this is funny. The commandant was a guy from 7th group.
Yeah.
So they do graduation. Whoever has the highest scores gets distinguished grad. And this guy goes, and the chief grad, Michael. Get up here, man.
He's like,
get off the goddamn stage, man.
Did you get distinguished honor grad for it? That's funny as hell, man.
I did. He was a little upset at me for that. Man. Well, you could test that out anytime because then you take a test, right? A hearing, reading, and then a conversation test. Right?
Yeah.
There's go all the way up to 3+. It's like 0, 0+, 1, 1+, 2, 2+, 3. Right?
Yeah.
And it's your rating on how proficient you are in the language. So I left there with like I think it was a 3.3.
Okay.
2+. Yeah. So
you're golden.
I was okay.
Yeah.
They were. Yeah. So I got a little bit of time off, but then after that, at that point, people would, the guys, after you graduate the Q course, then they would send them to SEER school, the Survival, Evasion, Resistance, Escape School.
Yeah.
I went to SEER school as a dumb 19-year-old private coming back from Somalia. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I went and got to go, so I didn't have to go.
Okay.
So then I just reported the unit early.
Which SEER school did you go to? Did you go to the one on Fort Bragg?
Yeah. I went to the level C. So I'll tell a quick story about that.
Yeah.
When I got back from Somalia, they had block leave. I was a dumb kid, and I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have any. I have my familia, but I'm in upstate New York. I can't afford to go down to Las Cruces, New Mexico, and that's okay. We wrote letters back in the day, and I didn't have a phone in my room, right? That's how this is. 93, early 90s, 94. So a slot came up for this school, and I remember everyone's getting ready to go on leave. The sergeant major was talking to all of us. He goes, "Hey, we got block leave coming up." He said, "But I have a slot for this school that we don't usually get." And remember, I'm in an air defense battalion.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a survival school, but you can't go on block leave. Who wants to go? I raised my hand.
Okay.
I'm the only one that raised his hand.
The only one.
I didn't know what it was. I go, survival school? Yeah, I'll go. I was very eager and hungry. I've always been like, okay, I want to do more. I was really active, maybe hyperactive, whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, Private Rodríguez, come on up. All right. Like, you got it. And I'm like, oh, cool. I go to S1 or, next week, they'll give you the information. Like, okay. So I went and no one knew what it was.
Really?
No, we didn't know. And so then I go, and when I go, I'm like, what is this? And of course, back they're like, oh, it says here, they pulled up the thing. This SEER school is a survival, evasion, resistance. I didn't know what SEER was.
Yeah.
I didn't, I joined the Army, went through my training, deployed to Somalia, came back. Now I'm going to SEER school. So I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we're going to go down to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I'm like, oh man. And right away, I'm like, oh man, that's what Green Berets are and stuff, right? And then they're like, there's level A, B, and C of SEER. And SEER is the high risk. And I'm like, okay. So I got orders, went to the pay agent and got my advance back when the cages and they give you money for travel. Like, all this. Again, I'm dating myself crazy. People are like, is this guy that old?
Yeah, very different back then.
So I went down there and I show up. Now, back then, everyone goes to SEER school now. All SF guys go. But back then, the only people that went to SEER school were officers, warrant officers, and pilots. And then sometimes they would get a slot and they would send an enlisted guy to SEER school. It's like a POW type school. Yeah. So I show up, I walk in, and I sign in. I'm looking around, and I'm like, damn, this is all Green Berets. There were some 160th pilots there. I didn't know what 160th was, but there were pilots.
You were going to learn eventually,
and I'm like, wow. And then they had some Ranger Battalion guys there.
Okay.
And I'm like, dang, like I said, I was very shy, very quiet. I didn't know anything. So then they're like, all right, go pick up your gear. It was really quick. You show up. Okay. And then I'm signing this paperwork and I'm not reading it. Yeah. I'm just going through. And then the last page, I'm looking at it and you sign these waivers. And on it, I happen to notice I can't remember exact wording, but basically said, like, if I'm hit, I will not hit anyone back. I won't retaliate. Like, I'm struck. Just was a struck. I'm like, I don't know what that means. I'll sign it. Right. So man, we do this and then we get in the trucks and they take us out to Camp McCall. And then and no one's talking to me. I'm just quiet guy in the corner. Yeah. And then they come in and they put us all in the classroom. Like, all right, let's go around the room. Let's see who's in here. Stand up, talk about who you are. So I was like, you're given a roster number. I was kind of towards like the latter half of it. And then it comes to me to stand up and talk. Hey, I'm POC Rodríguez. I'm from the 10th Mountain Division. I'm 16 Sierra. And everybody looks at me and they're like, what what are you doing here? The instructors are all staring at me like, what are you doing here? I said, I just, my sergeant major has said, offer to school. And I said, sure, I'll go. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, do you know what this school is? I go, survival school? They're like, so everyone started laughing. I had no idea what it was.
Oh,
so then,
man.
But fortunately, I've been able to land nav.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I have this internal compass or something. So a lot of it was land nav and training. And then they put you in teams. And the team was being a little more friendly to me. And they were like, man, you're going to be a war baby. I'm like,
you're going to be a war baby.
What is a war baby? What is a war baby? I didn't know what that was.
That's so funny.
But at that time, it was really special because Dan Pitzer, who's a POW for 7 years in Vietnam, was still an instructor out there. He would come out and guest instruct.
No kidding.
He was a POW with Colonel Nick Rowe.
Oh, wow.
So he was there and he would come in and I would sit there and listen to this gentleman. I'm just like, damn. 7 years, man.
That's crazy.
And so he was there, and
as an instructor,
yeah,
Jesus, that's about as close. That's about as close to personal experience as you're going to get.
And all this was happening. So remember Somalia, right? Remember Durant? Yeah, so this was right after Durant. Oh, so that happened in October. In January, I was in SEER school.
Wow.
So all this was fresh, and we were talking about it, and of course. We got Mike back at that point. Yeah. Michael Durant.
Yeah.
So we were.
That was the Black Hawk pilot.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And during all, I'm just sponging it up. I want to learn. I want to do more. Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know what a war baby was until I got to. So the way it goes, you're training, your survival, and you're eating food, whatever. And they put you in teams. They send you on E&E corridor, evasion escape corridor, and they have 82nd kids trying to hunt you down, right? And if you would, like, some of the most aggressive people I've ever come across are 82nd infantry guys on a detail in the field trying to find you, man, because they're pissed off if they're there.
They're mad. They're out
mad.
there.
So you're running from them. On the last day, you get, you're supposed to be, making a link up to get pulled out, but you get rolled up and they take you with some place thing called the RTL, the Resistance Training Laboratory. And then at that point, it's a prison camp. It's right out of like any Vietnam movie that you can, where they show prison camps. It's right like again, one of the other Rambos where he ends up getting caught, right?
Yeah.
It's legit. They've got barbed wires but it's under anyway, it's all there. But while you're there, that's when I remember like signing that thing. They could beat me up and nothing. But because I was 19 years old, I was called the war baby. And with the war baby, if you're the youngest, I was the youngest by far. Yeah. That's anytime someone would screw up, they'd beat me. So I ended up being like the whipping boy, right? So I understood. Oh, that's what the war baby means. So I got all the extra training while I was there.
The extra training?
I'll say this, like in those 3 days, and that's 3 days, like nonstop.
Yeah.
Like it is.
No sleep.
You don't sleep. They just wear you out.
Yeah.
It was in January.
Oh, Jesus. It was probably
I don't have a lot of meat on me, man. So I got all the extra training. And the other thing I'll add to that is they give you these pajamas and they take your shoelaces in, soles out. You can't wear socks. You're wearing your boots that you showed up with. Yeah. Every time your left foot touches the ground, you got to say boots. There's a lot of things going on. But I was naked probably 80% of the time.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah, dude.
In the middle of January.
Yeah, they would like strip me repeatedly and taking my clothes off. But whenever I got my top, you're given a criminal number. This is funny. There was you were supposed to button all the buttons. My shirt only had one button at the top. So it was open, right? Like some cholo or something. And they didn't like that. So what they made me do, they're like, oh, come here. They come over and they tied it in like a halter top. So I had to wear like a female's like top, like a tied, like I was wearing a bikini top or something.
Oh my God.
I was either that in pajamas or naked. And it was just like, there's no winning to this thing. So I got the extra training with SEER school, but everyone goes through that. And I got to tour the newer facilities about 6 months ago. And it's amazing. It's amazing what they do. And it's all controlled. I mean, they record everything. It's called a laboratory for a reason. Yeah. It is, but you don't see it. If you're part of it, you don't see it. Yeah. You're just getting wore out. Yeah. But it puts you in a position where you again, a good learning point for yourself.
Yeah.
So
everybody, man, the way that you described the laboratory,
it's called the laboratory.
Dude, that place. I mean, I was just talking to a former 160th pilot who was in here yesterday, actually, who was explaining her experience. And I was like, did you ever Do you think you ever got beat up in front of the dudes on purpose to get under their skin? She's like, oh yeah,
absolutely.
She said she got slapped open palm and they completely rendered her unconscious, and it was an accident. And like she woke up to a medic, like check, they're like ceasefire green for a second because it wasn't supposed to happen like that. But I'm sure the guys that saw that were like probably, oh my God, freaking out because like you can't do anything to stop it, and it is what it is, like you're saying, because it's a training environment. There are certain criteria that need to be met. But I'm sure that even back then, it was probably even more like, oh my God, this is excruciating, demoralizing. Like I can't imagine.
It was, and you're right. Like, so there's a very psychological approach to it. So the reason they used me, there wasn't any, I don't know what year the very first female went to SEER level C. But for me, it was like the youngest. So they were like, looked at me and like, oh man, they're beating the kid up. Yeah. Right. So it was psychological. And then when they started using females, of course, it has a psychological effect on us. It's like, man, that shouldn't be happening, you know, for the same reasons that, you know, man, it's just, I remember on deployments, you hear ticks and we're always tracking, and whether you know the unit or not, you're paying attention. Right. Okay. And then you hear it. But every time that I remember, it was when a female was killed, it was different. It was very different. It impacted us differently. And I was speaking personally for me, but the entire team and all of this is very different. So there's a psychological impact to that. Yeah. And there's a science to it, right? Okay. So the person that will interrogate you will be a different person that interrogates me. Yeah. Based off race, sex. I mean, it's going to impact us culturally a little bit differently. So it's important to understand those aspects. And again, that goes to us as these incredibly complex emotional creatures that we are, right? Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's everybody's got a very interesting, unique story. There's a lot of similarities, but everybody's had a relatively unique experience based on like who they are, what they look like, how old they were when they went through, what year they went through, because it's probably changed over the years. As everything does in the military, everything changes as time progresses. But so you went through SEER school before you got to before you even went to selection. You went through selection, you got through selection, you went to the Q course 2 years to become an 18 Delta, to become a Special Forces medical, sergeant, Special Forces medical sergeant. Once you graduated from that 2-year stint, where did you go? You said you were going to 7th Group because you did Spanish. When did you actually go to 7th Group? I got there in 2000.
In 2000. So prior to, so you were already a Green Beret before 9/11. That must have been very interesting.
It was very interesting because we were still deploying, going to down South America, and a lot of at that point, and it still is today. You know, a lot of them are doing stabilization operations because there's a lot of stuff going on out there that people don't know about. And counter drug, counter narcotic, all of that stuff. So we you know, there's still out there doing it. So that was the big focus for us, primarily Colombia.
Really? Yeah. Okay. When was are you allowed to say when your first year going down to Colombia was?
So my first trip to Colombia it was a year before 9/11. So I went to Colombia and worked with the anti-narcoticos, anti-narcotic police. They're jungla guys. They're jungle guys. Like
jungle guys.
Yeah. So, and they're police officers, but they're trained to go in there. And that's like their strike force as far as the police goes.
I can't imagine a better guy for the job, dude. I swear to God, like they'd probably like, so how was it like working with them?
Man, I loved it because those people are fighting in their own country. Yeah. You know, when you think about it like that, they're hunting down people and they're trying to make their country better. And you know, anybody wants to know what's going on in Colombia, just watch Narcos, right? Like go on Netflix and watch Narcos. Narcos did a really good job of telling the progression and the involvement of the government and all of that. And again, I'm not saying anything ill, but it's just like, just get smart on the region. So for me, I was like, man, what would it be like domestically to have to do this? Yeah. You know, and again, we talked about perspective and perception earlier when Americans have their perceptive oppression, right?
Yeah, their perceived depression.
You need some damn perspective before you start telling me you're oppressed. I don't care who you are. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it really touched me a little bit. I'm like, oh man, what would that be like? What would it be like? And so I had a tremendous amount of respect for them to do that, because those gentlemen that I worked with, the skills they had could easily go make 10 times that if they worked for the other side.
Yeah.
Right. So you start thinking about those things like, wow, what are your motivations? What is that? You know, and I always loved the human interaction, the psychologically and sociologically, why we do what we do. What is your why? Why are you doing that? Why are you saying that?
Yeah.
The cultural differences and aspects always played in. So I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I always learned so much every trip I went on.
Yeah. And how long was your time down there? Was it just short 6 weeks?
It depended on some of the missions. So I think my shortest one down there was probably about 7-8 weeks. I think my longest one was like maybe 4 months, 5 months.
Okay.
They were short. They were very short.
Yeah.
So, I talk about like Kelly, and my best friend, right? The mother of my monsters. She has less deployments than I do, but I think we're at equal time. Actually, you know what? I think she's got more time deployed.
Okay.
Because
her deployments were longer.
Yeah, because she was conventional Army. So when people say like, I got this many deployments, okay, well, how long what are your deployments? Like, how long were they? A number means something, but time is very different. In Kelly, like, she's got a ton of time. Like, one of her deployments, when she went to Afghanistan in 08, 09 was like 16, 17 months.
17 months in Afghanistan. 16
months, 17 months. And I was like, man, like, and of course I'm stuck home with the monsters, our 3 sons.
Yeah.
So, that I just bring that up as a point. Like when you say, when people say temp, you're like, oh man, I'm like, well, let's put it in perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand, especially from a conventional side. Like, for example, the Marine Corps deploys for typically like 6-7 months a lot of times. But I mean, that's changed a lot. There's some folks I know that deployed for 9 months, but Army typically has had much longer deployments from what I've seen, just talking to my friends. But your average person in a conventional site or a civilian isn't going to understand how the rotations kind of work with ODAs. Yeah. I certainly didn't, unless I asked guys that were former Green Berets or current, because there's just no way for us to know because we're not in that community. So it is interesting to like get that perspective and be like, okay, that makes sense. Like you have specific tasks that you have for that short period of time and certain missions that you're trying to meet while you're down there for that 6 weeks or 8 weeks or however long. And they do different work. The work is different. There's a different mission set. There's a different spectrum of things that you're trying to accomplish as an ODA. And I mean, you guys are going to know more about that stuff than the conventional side for sure. So definitely a good perspective to understand. So you got back from Colombia. What happened after 9/11? Where were you when that happened? So
at 9/11, I remember I was in the basement at 7th Group. 7th Special Forces Group used to be at Fort Bragg. They're now down at Eglin Air Force Base.
Okay.
They got phenomenal. I'm like jealous. They moved down there after I left them. So I was like,
now they get a really nice spot.
Oh my gosh. It's like a no hat, no salute area. The entire compound. It's massive. Beautiful. It's amazing. So I was in the basement down and doing like an ammo handlers class, right? Like to, because we do your own ranges and everything. So I'm in there with, a guy I graduated the Q course with, 18 Bravo, the weapons sergeant of the team, a guy named Levi Rogers. So we're sitting in this class and we're going through it. And the guy comes in, he goes, all right, here's the answers. And we're like, what? Okay. He goes, A, B, B, A, B. We're like, okay, turn it in. Now get the hell back to your, companies. We were in the basement. We need the conference room. I don't know. We're going to war. And I'm like, what do you say? And we go out
fumbling around his words.
All right, whatever. So we get in the vehicles because my battalion was across the street, a few blocks on the other side of USASOC headquarters.
Yeah.
So we drove there, and then I get out. Levi's in front of me, and he gets out of his car at the stop sign, comes over to me, goes, "Dude, did you hear?" I go, "Hear what?" Like I had a cassette tape. I was listening to, I don't know what I was listening to. I think I listened to some Motown or something at the point.
Some Motown.
Yeah, that's what I grew up on, man. So I was listening to it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he was all amped up, and then he gets in the car. I'm like, the hell's what's wrong with Levi, man? Or whatever. So we drive, as Levi are walking into the company area, we go by the B team, which is the headquarters team. And we walk in, and there's a TV, there's always a TV in there, and we saw it, and that was when the second plane hit. And we're like,
wow,
what the hell? And so then we go down to the team room, and everybody's in there. The rest of the team's already there.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, call your families, tell them you're not sure when you're getting back, but they need to, stay home, stay safe. We don't know what's going on. So then we were on Fort Bragg, just securing the area for a period of time. But we had people need to understand, particularly in the soft area, there are mission requirements worldwide, right? That was big, right? And okay, each special forces group is regionally oriented. So first special forces group has Asia. Seventh is Central South America. Third group at the time had the Caribbean a little bit, and then Africa. 10th group had Europe, and then fifth group had the Middle East. Yeah. So this fell within their wheelhouse, right? So that's why the fifth group was the first one. So it just made sense. That they're regionally oriented. They speak Arabic. They're taught Pashto. They're taught Dari. You know, where us is Spanish, we're the easy ones, right? But then first group, those guys are taught Chinese Mandarin and Thai and Tagalog, excuse me. Yeah. So they were the first ones, but those are mission sets that are so required in any given time since before then, now, and in the future. You're going to find special forces team in about 80 plus or minus countries across the world. That keeps things safe. And the cool thing I love about the mission set for special forces, like ODAs particularly, is they teach other nations to defend themselves, so we don't have to send our sons and daughters and mothers and fathers, right? It's an enabler. We go there and we teach them how to do it on their own, and we do it better than anyone else. You know, I know others have tried, and that's fine, but I will say that, you know, SF teams are better trained. We're the only ones trained in unconventional warfare, which will add a different aspect when you're doing foreign internal defense. Yeah. You're a little more understanding in their capabilities and how to implement them. So all that being said, there was a lot of mission requirements still. So we had a mission coming up that was in South America. So we all, of course, everyone wanted to go like, oh, let's go get them, right? Yeah. Well, that's not ours. That's not we're part of a team, you know? But as that continued to grow, then of course, everyone else, all the other groups had to, because as Afghanistan grew, then Iraq kicked off, and then the global war on terrorism pretty much started going forward. Yeah. There were more mission needs, immediate mission needs, to fight that war, as opposed to, okay, well then, but then it pulled the resource from other nations. Okay, well, we need to do this. We need to move these chess pieces over here to handle that. So, and
so did you still end up going down to South America after 2001? Yeah. Okay. So you did another stint down there. And then when was the first time that they were like, okay, look, we don't have enough resources from fifth group to cover the rest of this. We need to pull some other guys.
I think so. Fifth group, then third group, within like the first year and a half. So fifth group was kind of running that. But see, when fifth group went in and some of the teams, and they pulled resources from some of the other groups as well.
Oh, they did?
Right. And I mean, resources, I mean, people. Some guys were like my team sergeant, my last team sergeant, a guy named Randy Searles. He was a seventh group guy, but because he was trained in certain things, like low level source operations at an extremely high level, managing intelligence, human intelligence, I mean, it's a very unique skill set back then that now is a lot more prevalent, but we didn't know we needed it that much. He was one of them. So they pulled him and attached him to another different group to deploy. So, you know, management of talent, right? So there were certain requirements needed. So they pulled resources, but I think it was in the first year and a half, then groups started getting involved. Like, okay, then they started building up the Siege of SOTF. Okay, now we need, then they started doing the handoff, you know, but primarily it was fifth group and third group were the very first with augmentees from the others. Yeah. But then it turned into, okay, now we just start needing everyone. And of course, I'm not saying it was just SF teams, because then within SOCOM, there's a lot of tools in that toolbox. We started augmenting, then we started, because I think it was I can't remember when it was, but then the SEAL teams started getting involved in a little bit of foreign internal defense and low-level social operations. Okay, maybe we can send SEAL platoons out there to do similar operations. And then, of course, as the war progressed, we saw, you know, force recon, you know, your guys kind of split. And then it's when the Marines finally were like, man, we needed special operations, you know, because I remember the comment on the time is the entire Marines is special operations, and okay, but they're not getting the money that SOCOM by that is like a little bit of resource. Like, I don't know if that was the right thing to say, but okay, all right, sir, you're a 4-star man. I remember that. I will never. I'm like, damn, man, these. I don't need that money. We'll work with secondhand stuff, right? I'm like, all right. So then, of course, MARSOC stood up, right, to support that, and you know, MARSOC did I think you guys did a phenomenal job at building MARSOC within the culture of the Marines, but then also looked at, you know, at that point, it would have been 60 plus years of institutional knowledge of the special forces going all the way back to the OSS. Okay, who does this? What's the pipeline? And looked at our pipeline and mirrored it not exactly, but adapted it. So I don't say they did a cut and paste, but okay, that doesn't work. This works. Because I remember when that was happening, they would send folks to Bragg.
Yeah.
Well, how are you guys doing that? What is this? And then modeled it. And then they hired a boatload. I think almost all of the civilian instructors they hired were retired SF guys.
Yeah.
To teach.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. That's what made MARSOC so mission capable in such a short time. I don't think people talk about that enough. I don't know if people tune the Marine out when they start talking or what, but I saw the progression of that and I was just like blown away, right? I want to give credit where credit is due. And they did a phenomenal job of doing that. So then you have these other, these incredibly capable individuals that are contributing and acting in this incredibly complex conflict in all the theaters at that time. So it was a pretty amazing thing. I talk about like what it is that I've done, but that's easy, but we didn't do it alone. There was a lot of cool tools and a lot of things going on. And of course, during all of this, you have the SMUs doing all the crazy stuff that no one ever hears of, may never hear about, or may have heard about, right? Or have rumors about that are just the surgical precision of what it is that they do. And so many of my friends progressed on to do that stuff is just remarkable. So it's, it's pretty amazing to watch. You just got to pay attention.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's happened that a lot of people probably will never hear about potentially because it was just so high level, like you said, special mission units and maybe like their 3-letter agencies that were involved in certain things. And I mean, because obviously the CIA went in like almost before a lot of the ODAs in some places, and they're out there developing the area, and then they're developing some sources and partners that are there prepping some battle space stuff. And then the ODA came in like in I think 2001, the horse soldiers in Afghanistan, and that was even before Iraq popped off, and they were out there. I don't know, I'm not sure what group those guys came from.
They were fifth group.
They were fifth.
Yeah, they were fifth group.
That would make sense. Yeah, because they were there right immediately after. Riding on horseback through through the countryside out there and like working with the Mujahideen and all that. That was a crazy period of history too, to read up on, to learn more about. When was your first opportunity to go out to CENTCOM as part of that stuff?
It wasn't until 05.
05?
Yeah.
Okay, so right after the second Battle of Fallujah, where did you go to Afghanistan first?
It was Afghanistan. So I never went to Iraq.
Oh, really?
I never made it to Iraq.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was Afghanistan, and then again the following year went to Afghanistan.
Okay, what part of Afghanistan were you?
So the first time I was RC South, was where it was, and then the second time was RC East out in Jalalabad.
Okay. Yeah. So, and that was the first one you said was in 05.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Man, I don't be like diminutive. I'm trying to think of a good way to say that.
Because it was
at that point, I'd been a lot of places, and it was, they're all similar, right? If you find conflict areas, if you go there, you're going to find similarities, right? With how things feel, how the people react, and they can be on opposite sides of the planet. Yeah. But there's that human element, is very similar. For me, when I went to Afghanistan, it was a little different. I mean, there were similarities, of course. War is war. Yeah. Not all wars are the same, and I'm not being diminutive or saying one is better. No, definitely not. Just the human element. If you look at that part of it, when I went to Afghanistan, it reminded me of home, where I'm from. Outside of the fact, when I showed up to Afghanistan, people thought I was Afghani.
Do they really?
Oh yeah. Like when I got
the locals did?
When I would go there, heck, even our interpreters did. So they would, I would show up, and a lot of them, there were rumors going around that I was a secret interpreter, just making sure everyone was translating correctly.
They're probably like spooked out a little bit.
It's funny. But I say that it reminded me of home because then I not just the environment, because in southern New Mexico, there's mountains, right? The Rockies still go through there. It's not just, flat lands and 4-foot tall blue roadrunner birds, right?
Yeah. You got the high desert stuff.
Right. But outside of the climate, the people, they could be my primo, my tío, my cousin, my uncle. I was like, damn, all different languages, whatever. And they welcomed me. And I did what I could to learn Pashto and Dari so I could interact a little bit better. So, I really had a connection with them, a little bit more. And it wasn't cultural. Just purely visual, right? Yeah. But there was again, it I connected a little bit in a different way.
Yeah.
Because when I go to South America, I was a gringo, right? They don't care.
Yeah.
Then, gringo, right? You're and that's okay. Norteamericano, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But there was a little bit different. Not that I didn't have the connection in South America either, but it was just unique given the mission set, because that was different.
Yeah.
It was very different because you're working alongside those. We'd have our partner, Afghan fighting force with us, which changed over time as they progressed and advanced. We had the ASF at that time, the Afghan Special Forces, and then that changed until they finally got to the commandos, right?
Yeah.
Which were the last ones, which were phenomenal. I mean, think about mission capabilities, right?
They were good.
Yes. So that, working with them, we shared the same compound. It was sectioned off, but I mean, it was just living and working with them a little bit different.
Yeah. Did you spend more time in, would you say, rural areas or like urban areas while you were there? More rural? Because it was in South Afghanistan?
Yeah, the South. And so we worked even in Jalalabad. We didn't do a whole lot in the city.
Yeah.
I don't say the city governed itself, but there was a lot of the folks that we would go find, right, or go after or look for, weren't in the city. They were outside the city, and which is, it's easier. I mean, it's easier to defend a compound out in the middle of nowhere if you got, 1K clear visibility in all directions with high walls and one ingress, egress route, right? I mean, that's smart, right? For the bad guys.
Yeah.
So a lot of that was doing that, going out there, which was, a little more challenging and, got a little more spicy. But
yeah. Did you ride around in vehicles or patrol on foot?
So we had vehicles. We did vehicles. Some missions we would, when we were on foot, because it was such long, travel areas, because our area of responsibility was bigger than the state of Vermont. Like 108. Jesus. That was our area, right? Wow. So you got to think about 12 guys with their locals, like that's your area. And it took us from the border of Pakistan on, from Pakistan to Torkham Gate, all the way on down to Jalalabad and south of Jalalabad and east. So it was a huge area.
Yeah.
So we couldn't walk, but the times we did walk was typically if we had to get to a place, a compound, to go knock on some doors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We were doing it under low vis, then we would leave the vehicles and then walk in, but it wasn't very long patrols.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a patrol. I wouldn't call that. We were on mission at that.
Yeah. You were just like doing raids and stuff like that. Do you think you did more time conducting raids or like actual like direct action missions? Or do you think you spent more time doing partner force development type stuff?
More work. We would do some. I'm going to say, it sounds like we would train with the guys, but there was always partner development, because after it, hey, try this. We're going to do this. We're going to modify this. No, we want you here, this and that.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was the requirements were so large for us to go out and do what it is that we did, because outside of doing raids and, hunting for the guys that are blowing everyone up.
Yeah.
We also did, and this fell into my responsibility. One of them was MedCaps, like Medical Civic Action Projects, MEDCAP.
Okay.
So I would set up a clinic, right? But we would tell the people, hey, we're going to come in, and then I would recruit. Sometimes I'd bring in doctors from Bagram or Kandahar, and I'd bring in other medics, and then I would set up this thing where we would basically just do like free medical care for everybody. Okay. And we provide everything, so that we would do clinic. I loved it doing this because then we could impact the local community in a positive way. Yeah. We did it somewhat strategically in that, okay, let's set up a med cap in an area where we know there's like, we're probably going to get blown up if we go in there. But if we're going to give something back, maybe, it's sort of like buy through and with, get the people on our side, right? Yeah. And the whole win hearts and minds thing, right? But then while we're there, it kind of give us an access and placement, a reason to be there. And then maybe at night we'll go knock on the door. Right.
So during the daytime, we got a clinic. During the night, we're doing some raids.
And it was really easier to get approval for mission for that. Because getting outside the wire to go on a mission, there were certain requirements, and it would change depending on command and NCA, National Command Authority. Like, okay, no, we need this. What is that? And it would change. And sometimes it was a pain in the rear to get that. But if you're there, hey, we got some TS-10 intel. We're going to go to the boom. Okay, go. You send a 5W real quick. And I guess I am outing the team at this point, but like that was the reason I set up the MedCap there.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's a strategic decision.
Absolutely. And those MedCaps, I'm not saying we didn't care. I wasn't doing the right thing for the right reasons. We were.
Yeah.
But those are some of the most like impactful moments of my life to be able to do that. When you just give a child who's got a foot infection, just basic penicillin, because penicillin still works in certain parts of the world, right?
Yeah. Because they didn't have it for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Or at all. They're not abusing antibiotics.
Yeah.
Can save their life. Just simple treatment like that. In your perspective, perception. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you're having a direct impact on like children, you know, and obviously, like, I mean, you know, the kids in all these types of locations are the ones that oftentimes suffer the most for the decisions that the adults are making in that region. So that's, I would imagine that probably pretty impactful experience doing that, being able to do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And that, like what you just said, I had to label that something, right? Why is it the innocent or the weak or are the ones that I was, you know, and I was just like, I had to call it something, you know, after I got out to like to process it. So you just put the stuff in shoeboxes and throw it away, and then hopefully it doesn't come back out till later. And that always does. Yeah. But like the destruction of innocence is what I called it, because we would find that, you know, I would get brought burned babies, like someone putting a baby in a fire and the mother bring me. I'm like, why? How did this kid, like this infant can't get it, you know, but they were doing that, or women, you know, abused.
Barbarism.
It was, yeah, exactly. It was absolutely barbaric, some of the stuff. I remember one time there was a story. I'll tell this story real quick. Yeah. They brought me this girl, and she was about the size of a 5-6-year-old, and she was 10. So I could tell she was malnourished. She didn't receive the adequate nutrition. She was like low on the totem pole as far as that family goes. And she was, knowing what I know now, because one of my grandsons is on the spectrum. That's what she was. She was on the spectrum without a doubt.
Okay.
But they didn't know that. They didn't understand that. She had various injuries on her body, bruises, various stages of healing, all kinds of scars. Matter of fact, one of her eyelids was split. I had never seen that before. Her eyelid was split. And a big scar. So I'm like, man, someone beat her enough to where her eyelid split.
Yeah.
So the reason they brought her to me, the father was there. He was very adamant about it. And he goes, she's possessed. She has demons and devils. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? And I had an interpreter with me. And I'm like, what does he mean? He goes, no, that's what he's saying. And I'm like, why do they think that? And she was sitting in the corner, just like sitting, you know, on her hind, you know, squatting down.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I go, why do you think that? And he said, because she's eating dirt. And I'm like, they're like, she's eating dirt. And then I knew exactly what it was. So there's this condition called pica. This is where all that school book work from the 18 Deltas came in.
Yeah.
Pica is a condition that typically pregnant women experience. And they have a vitamin deficiency and they have an urge. The human body is an amazing machine. It'll tell you what to do and you don't even know why it's doing it. So when women who are pregnant develop pica, they have an urge to eat dirt. Why? Well, because there's vitamins and nutrients in it. They have a vitamin deficiency. They have an iron deficiency. So they're looking for iron. The reason that little girl was eating dirt, because she wasn't receiving adequate nutrition. Her body was telling her to eat dirt. The father interpreted that as her being possessed.
Jesus.
So right there, outside of just the physical, I knew she was, you know, abused.
Yeah.
Right there, I knew that, and I knew why. And so I got a little aggressive with the gentleman, right? And
well, I mean, you're going to get emotional a little bit for
that was one time where I just couldn't. I don't care what your culture says. I don't care. At this point, I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
So I got a little aggressive with the gentleman, and
I like how you put it very kindly, very softly. I got a little aggressive.
I did.
Meaning I was swinging fists, like shaking him by his collar, probably.
Yeah. It was, you know, and explained to him, and you know, that I'm going to give her some medicine. It was vitamins.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give her some powder supplements that are for her, specifically for her.
Yeah, don't you take it.
I am going to, and they weren't very far from where this clinic wasn't far from our fire base.
Yeah.
And I said, I am going to have her checked on. Because we would send our local interpreters to go do things that, you know, hey, go check on this guy.
Yeah.
I said, and I had one of my interpreters there who's a local. I said, I'm going to have him come check on her. I said, if I find out that she's not getting that, you sold it, and she's not doing better, you're going to see me again, and it's not going to be good. And this is after me placing, getting aggressive with the gentleman. So I think he could put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
So those right there are, when I think about that, I pray that I think about her a lot. I hope she's still here.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know.
Yeah, man. And I would imagine that there's a lot of other people that have very similar stories to that right there, where they encountered children and they were being just mistreated because it's a different culture. It's a different part of the world that they don't have the same knowledge, like medical knowledge or education that we do. And weird stuff, like weird acts of barbarism, all kinds of weird stuff like that happens. I'm sure there's a lot of guys that have probably similar stories out there. Somebody listening to this right now, as after this has been completed, I'm sure will be like, I wonder how this kid that I ran into on the side of the road that one time is doing. I wonder how they're doing, because you just don't know, especially after the Taliban took over the whole country, after we pulled out and stuff. There's no way to tell like where these people are or what's going on with them, but you think back to these young faces that are etched in the back of your mind, and you'll never forget that interaction, that human interaction. There's some real powerful stuff that came out of that, like these memories that live with folks like yourself and other people that are part of that generation that were over there, that you carry that with you, and every now and then you think about it. I'm sure there were a lot of good things that we did to help a lot of those small situations throughout the country, in different situations, different scenarios. And hopefully that impacted people, and maybe a lot of those kids, that maybe you met at that point, maybe some of them grew up and maybe some of them came to the United States, and we hope the best for that, because that's what we do hope, especially a lot of folks that are out there in service that went to these types of places. You hope that the best worked out for them in the long run.
Yeah. I go back to like the story I talked about in Somalia, is I know when I left there, at those food distribution sites, that those children were going to make it another day.
Yeah.
Right. But that is something you have to fight for every single day.
Yeah.
And those are some things you need to do. So when as I added things up in my experience and think about those children and some of the folks, I'm like, well, I don't want to feel like I wasn't doing the best I possibly could.
Yeah.
Because then, people that do that, and all of us that do that are involved in that, it's you want to feel like, okay, my time mattered. I did something of value. And even if it's just those moments, right? Yeah. It's just those moments that we provided that hope, safety, security, happiness, joy, in those moments. Okay. I want to say that was worth it. So I got asked a question years ago by the Washington Post once. I was doing an interview about the memorial, and this was prior to the Afghanistan thing, right? I don't know what to call it. Yeah. She asked me, and I was there to talk about our memorial, right? And she asked me, goes, Rod, do you ever think we'll win this war? And I'm like, all right. In my mind, I'm like, that wasn't we were going to talk about. You didn't tell me we were going to talk about this, but
yeah.
I said, well, I don't know what winning a war means really, because this isn't a war of. That's how I framed it to her. I said, we weren't there to like conquer anyone. We were there to help. I said, look, like I'm going to speak personally for me. These are my words. I said, look, I think, I've been able to watch little girls go to school for the very first time in regions that no one had ever gone to school because of schools we built. I've been able to provide medicine to kids that allow them to live from just a basic illness that, is no one worries about here, but kills people over there.
Yeah.
I said, for my time there, I didn't write the policy, right, that I enforced, nor was I in a political position to make those decisions and send our sons and daughters out there to do that either. I said, but for me, to me, that's winning a war, right? In those moments, but, I don't want to take away from the good that was given or the time that I gave. I didn't sacrifice anything. I gave freely and willfully. But I don't know. To me, that's winning war. I don't know. What does winning a war mean to you? And none of that made it in the interview. That was not what you wanted. So all that got
it's going to make it in this one. I promise you that. Because that right there, I guarantee there's a lot of people out there that need to hear that. Yeah. Because there's probably a lot of guys, especially post 2021, that wonder occasionally, did what I do matter?
Did what I do matter? Yeah.
And obviously it did.
It did. It absolutely did. You think about from take the geopolitical statecraft stuff out of that, right?
Yeah.
Take all that out.
Yeah.
Think about what it is, the impact, those immediate impacts that you've had in whatever capacity it is. That mattered, man. Like, I think that mattered.
I think so too.
I absolutely do, because, you know, I when I think about memories, I have joyous memories. You know, those moments mattered to me.
Yeah.
If someone helped me get those moments, I want to give them credit for helping me get those moments. So don't take a global view on it. Look at the impact. Unless someone was involved in that, unless, like, for those of that did that, it's hard to describe what that was like.
Yeah.
You know, and it did matter. I think it did matter. I don't want to take policy and politics out of it. Like what I do with the Memorial. This is about people. This is our patriotism. We serve. I didn't know. I joined the Army in 1992.
Yeah.
I didn't know where the hell Somalia was on our first deployment.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't realize how unstable a government was in Haiti. I didn't learn everything that was going on. You know, when I was a kid, when I joined in 92, I didn't know about all the crap that was going on in Central South America. And I didn't know any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I did it, and I'm proud of it. Right. Because that's what my nation called me to do, my family to do. Yeah. And we're proud of that. So it does matter. Yeah. I think everything they did matters. So Agreed. Anybody listening, that mattered. So I hope they feel value. They matter.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that the Vietnam vets and the GWOT vets have been able to really kind of like become much closer together about, because I'm sure a lot of them encountered very similar feelings and emotions after we left Saigon, you know, similar circumstances. Yeah. So, and that camaraderie across generations, I think, has been valuable for bringing those two groups of different generations of folks that served in the military together to talk through stuff, which always helps, because like keeping that stuff bottled up would just eat you alive. But talking about it, putting it out there, it almost releases. It's like that pressure release. You know, you put it out there and let go of that stuff. I think it's good for us. But I do agree with you. I think that it mattered, and even down to the microscopic or the micro level. Even if you only impacted a few people while you were there, those people are going to remember that. And if they survive, if they get out of there, maybe they go somewhere else, they're going to remember that. They're going to pass that on to other people. They're going to talk about those experiences that they had, and it's going to make a difference in somebody's life through the chain of events in whatever happens with their life. I want to ask you a question that I've been, I'm sure there's probably some folks out there that are curious before we get into the global war on terror memorial, because I do want to talk about that as well, because that's an important piece of your life's work now. You were injured in combat, correct? Mm-hmm. And which deployment was that on, and what location was that? So
that was in 06. Now I'll talk about that. So we talk about like, how do we travel? I was in vehicles. So I was one of the snipers on the team. Okay. Yeah, I was a medic, but I'm a special forces guy first. People are like, wait, how are you a medic and a sniper? I'm like, well, I was a senior sniper in my detachment. Well, how? Like,
you wear a lot of hats.
You wear a lot of hats, man. Yeah. I'm the dentist too, right? So
that's awesome.
You know, so anyway, so it was right on ATVs. We used to ride Polaris 800s, right?
In Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm. And it was great. So it was awesome. So, because remember I said I wasn't in an urban environment. Yeah. We would drive through Jalalabad to get through the city, but then it was out. So then it provided us the opportunity, if there was for us to branch off and maybe ride a ridge line
instead of going on a road.
Right. And then we would do that, and we trained that, we did it. And it was always, so we had 3 snipers on our team. It was me, my sniper partner, myself and Brian, but then we had a level 2 sniper, Paul. And what are the differences? He went to a different school. Level 1 is the school that I ended up being an instructor at afterwards.
Okay.
So anyway, that's what we do. So just to provide a little background to what happened. So we were on a mission. We were on our way to go visit some folks, and we crossed an LDA, linear danger area. It was a washed out road, kind of a washed out road. Yeah. Cleared it, came across, and what we would do in the convoy is we would go, one of us was always in front, and then if we cross an LDA, linear danger area, we'd get some Afghans to ride with us, and they'd do my foot. We clear it. Okay, clear. Then the convoy will come, and then we would leapfrog. So we took turns being the guy in front, because this was in 06. We didn't have jammers on our vehicles. Yeah. The jammers were not on ATVs. So we weren't in the bubble or the cone of safety.
Yeah.
You're just kind of out there. So and I love doing it. I'll be honest. Like one of my jobs on the team was also task org. I told everyone where they needed to sit in the vehicles, right? The teams we had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I wasn't like I wanted to, right? Everyone wants to be the first guy in the door. Well, other guys are like, hey, right on Ready TV. I go, well, you're not a sniper. They're like, come on, man. I'm like, hey, dude, I'm sorry. Go to sniper school and get back. Yeah. So that's what we did. So we cleared it. And the teams were coming across, and then the last Afghanistan vehicle was coming across. So then what we would do is I joined it. Now, what I'm telling you is what I was told.
Yeah.
As I joined it, there was a IED, but it was commandet because the Afghan vehicles didn't have jammers either. Right?
Okay.
They didn't get that bubble either. There was only certain vehicles, and we positioned them because not all vehicles had them, but we positioned it where the four-wheeled U.S. vehicles were in a cone, like a bubble, or next to one that is in a bubble, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we had it. So it was a commandet IED.
For those of you that don't know what a commandet IED is, real quick, it means that a person had to initiate it, meaning that somebody was watching them cross that linear danger area, and they were waiting for the opportune moment to trigger that IED to go off. That's what a commandet. Just for clarification, for
thank
those.
you for cleaning that up.
Yeah.
So I was sitting on it, but I'm one person
sitting on it.
I was on where it went off. I was on it.
Oh my God. Why are you on?
I'm one guy on the ATV.
On the ATV.
On the ATV. I was sitting on. I was at the spot where the ID went off.
Jesus.
But I'm just one guy. They're like, no, let's wait for this truck of Afghans. It's got like 20 dudes in it.
Yeah, they wanted to wait.
Right, let's wait. So by the sheer grace of our Lord, when the other vehicle went over it, it's called low order detonation. It was a 2 stacked AT mine, anti-tank mine. And one anti-tank mine will create a crater that you can park a vehicle in. It was 2 of them. Two anti-tank mines, Russian anti-tank mines. Wow. Low order det, by, again, the sheer grace of God, meaning not all of the explosives went off. A very small portion of it did, to the point where it lifted, it hit the Afghan vehicle because they waited till it was right over it. I was right in front of it, but it went off. And so then the blast wave, as it went off, it went off. That vehicle scared the crap out of the Afghans, right? But no one was injured except me. But the blast wave and everything hit me. It almost went it went off, but then I guess the truck focused it on me. I don't know a better way to put it.
So they lifted the truck off, and then the blast got pushed forwards right into your ATV.
So it threw me through the ATV a number of feet. I got up, was dusting myself off. The interpreter told me this, and I don't remember any of this.
You're like almost I don't rendered unconscious, but up and standing.
Yeah, I was. Well, they slowed down for a little bit, but then I got up almost immediately because things slow down. Yeah, because they're trying to react like holy crap, Yeah. Go back on. A couple of folks saw it. Team sergeant came to me and he said, "Rod, are you okay?" And I said, "I'm effing fine." But when I what I start remembering is then I hear over the radio they spotted another ID in the front of the convoy before it went off.
Oh, wow. So
now we're like, okay, what do we do? But back to the injury, I remember I'm like, I got something in my eye, I got something in my eye. I was like, something was blocking it, but I couldn't see. So I'm like looking at it, and then I pulled up to one of the Humvees and hit my mirror real quick, and I looked, and my eye was still there because I was like, did I lose my eye? And so I didn't lose my eye. It'll make sense here in a second. But it was there, and I'm like, and black. Okay, I can see black. I'm like, oh shoot, what? Okay, well, I put in my medic hat helmet for myself, but I'm out of it, right? Yeah,
disoriented, TBI. So
I'm
probably.
Like, I don't know. We finished the mission. We actually continued on, cleared it, went to the house. We were supposed to go still knocked on the doors, got our guy. Going back, long day.
Jesus Christ. And, you still just went with the whole entire mission.
I didn't tell anybody. I didn't say anything. I was a senior 18 Delta, senior medic. I had a junior medic. I didn't say nothing. Think about it this way. So when I tell that story, people are like, oh my gosh. I'm like, no, look at it this way. This is how I look at it. Imagine you're playing kickball. Everyone's played kickball, right?
Yeah.
8-year-old playing kickball. And you're just killing it that day. You're doing good. You're running between bases. You fall down and skin your knee. Do you stop playing kickball? No.
Right? Yes.
So that's
freaking hell.
That's what in my mind.
Yeah.
I needed to be there for them.
Yeah.
In my mind, because I was one of the senior guys on the team. Paul and I had been on that team. Like I was only ever on one ODA. Some people changed. Paul and I were there forever.
Okay.
So I felt I had an obligation, a duty to be there. And I was like, I'll figure it out when I get back. I'll figure like everyone else does. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'll figure it when I get back. So I got back we got back, I checked it out. And I'm like, man, I'm not doing good. Like, I'm vomiting. You were straight up concussed. I was concussed. So then I was like, I'll be all right. So I took some aspirin. I self-treated. I'll see you tomorrow. Like it's stupid. I say this now. I'm like, man, what an idiot. I cannot see. Yeah. So I'm like at 50% at best, just visually, not mentioning everything else, but I still think I need to be there.
Yeah.
We had another mission 3 days later. I'm not doing the best. Remember I said we would go through the streets of Jalalabad?
Yeah.
And, we would block traffic as we're going. It was a time-sensitive target. I remember I would pull off and do blocking. I remember one of the Afghan vehicles came up right behind me to support because I don't have a gun on mine. It's just me.
Yeah.
I used to have like an MP5 that hung here that I had to like spray and pray like, oh, shoot.
An MP5?
Yeah. Like D-ringed it. I had it hanging here on me. Yeah. So if I needed it, I could be like, God dang it.
Dude, that's gangster.
So anyway, they come up right behind me. They hit me and I go right through their windshield.
The Afghan vehicle.
Afghan did, and not on purpose. That vehicle had bad brakes.
Jesus.
So I went through the windshield.
You'd been injured.
Yeah. So then that happened. And I don't remember that. I remember waking up and there's glass in my face and I'm like, and then Shabir, the interpreter, are you okay? And then I hear the radio, hey, we're hitting checkpoint. What? I'm like, oh, we gotta go. So I like go through, slide back out through the windshield, get on the ATV, which is like right there. And they didn't hit me going like 50 miles an hour. It was enough to where I went through the window a little bit. So I don't know how fast it was. So I get on and then I get back on and I'm like, oh man, I'm not doing so hot. But hey, it's a time sensitive target.
Yeah.
If there's a bad guy in this area, we got to go say hi. Right?
Holy hell, man.
So that happened. We get the guys good. I'm just doing the best I can to hold together. About a week later, we're on another mission and an ATV again, rural area, agricultural area. And I'm going across this field to try to get to a spot to set up. And as I'm going through it, like I said, like a agricultural area.
Yeah.
I didn't see this irrigation ditch. So on our ATVs, we had a roll bar, right? So on the front of it, there was a roll bar.
Yeah.
And that's where we had a U mount where we could put our weapons.
Okay.
Right. And the roll bar was if you turned over, then it's not going to smash you. But we had weapons on there. We would hang one, right? That's where I put like my M4, and then my sniper rifle was in a case behind me. So I go through this, and I go like, think about you're going like, I don't know, I think like 35, 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And then you go right into a ditch. So then I bashed my face, flipped the ATV over, and then I'm stuck under it. And then I don't know how long I was out under there, but then I wake up. And I hear them, where's Rod? Where's Rod? And then I'm like, hey man, I'm stuck in a ditch. Can someone like come get me? So I was out for a while, I think, because I've talked to some of the guys afterwards. They're like, dude, you were gone a while. We didn't know where you were.
They must have been freaking out trying to find you.
They came and found me. I couldn't get out because I was pinned. And thankfully, the irrigation ditch was dry. Well, it was muddy, but it wasn't in use. So they hadn't opened up the port to allow drainage in there. If they would have, I would have drowned. I would have drowned. I would not be here.
Yeah.
So they came, pulled it out in the Polaris, the same Polaris that I got blown up on and got hit. And then I went to the same one, pushed it right back over and got on it. That's why I own one today. I love that Polaris 800.
Oh, you do?
I have bought one. I have one of those things. Like, I gotta have one. So anyway, I love Polaris. Like, oh my gosh, man, I could talk for hours on how amazing that vehicle is. So anyway, I was like, oh, I was still blind in my left eye.
Yeah.
And I could feel, I have broken bones in my face. And I used to fight, right? And my face, and I'm like, fuck, I think I might have fractured my maxilla. So I'm like, my teeth are loose and it hurts like hell. My face is swelling, but I could cover it. The guys couldn't see it because we would cover like I would put a rag for the dust and stuff. And I'm like, all right. And I'd move it and I'm like, so I fractured my maxilla because I had a portable x-ray machine back in my clinic at the base. So then when I get back, let me x-ray my face, and I ended up fracturing my maxilla again.
Jesus.
So another one. So all of that.
So you got injured basically three accidents on the ATV in less than 14 days.
So then But I knew after we were about 6 weeks from ripping out.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to say nothing. Right. I'm just like, I got to be here. I got to be here. So I just gutted it out. Jesus, I knew after that
that's
deployment,
the tough guy move right there, dude.
Stupid ass move. Because I think it's stupid because I was a liability.
Yeah.
I would not want someone on my ODA that was dealing with that stuff if I didn't know, first of all.
Yeah.
I would be pissed if a guy on my team was dealing with that and didn't give me the opportunity to take care of him.
Yeah.
Right. And then I would be pissed that, they're not mission capable. That was very selfish of me to do that.
Yeah.
Incredibly selfish. Because I felt, even though I was doing it out of love and duty and honor, but looking back now, I can say like, man, that was selfish as hell.
Yeah.
That was not the right decision. But I knew after that I was going to go to SWIC to be an instructor. And then I went to, and I'm going to teach at our sniper course after that. And even then I didn't tell anybody because I was scared to lose my job.
Okay.
I didn't want to, right? I was like, I'll be fine. Because at that point, TBIs, would get better over time. That was what they kept telling everybody. In spite of all the research regarding chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, in spite of everything out there, like, the Army's view. I mean, they didn't do baseline tests back then. Okay, they didn't do any of that stuff. No one was monitoring it. I'll be better. I ended up being an instructor for a number of years until finally I couldn't hide it anymore. I was, so then it pretty much had a big come to Jesus moment and had a talk with the command. And over that time, it was like 6-8 months later, I started getting vision back. I like to joke. My eyes turned into a married couple. They stopped communicating with each other.
Oh, man.
So I had horizontal diplopia, double vision.
Oh, wow.
Perfect horizontal diplopia. Like it's just two, like not like a shot, no, like two.
Wow.
So whatever damage was caused that break where it wasn't connecting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'll just deal with it. I can deal with it. And everybody who's fired a pistol repetitively, if you shoot, which one to look at.
Yeah.
Right. If two eyes are open, I know which one. Well, it's the same thing. And other things were happening as well. I mean, I'm like the case study on how not to take care of your brain. Remember I said I used to box growing up. I boxed in the Army. I had a significant, as a child, when I was 6 years old, I had a subcranial bleed. I fell from my father's shoulders onto, we didn't have carpet in my house. It was just stone floors.
Jeez.
Yeah, concrete. So I almost died as a kid. I mean, I'm the guy that don't take care of your brain. So all this stuff added up. So then when finally things were getting bad, I have tremors. I've got, some balance issues, some other stuff going on.
Yeah.
I had it. So they sent me to Walter Reed and they were like, man, pretty much ended my career at that point.
Did you got all of that documented, obviously, and for post service stuff?
Not really, but the tests are, the tests they ran and the stuff they found. Like I never went to sick call. Like I'm the one that did sick call for the team. I'm not doing sick call for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not doing an SF 600 for, the form that we used to fill out.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. And if you're hiding stuff, am I going to go tell anybody? No.
Yeah.
But when I went up there and I laid it all out, and thankfully, so when I went to Fort Bragg, I'm going to out some folks here real quick. The neurology clinic there said that's impossible. No, you've got to be faking.
Oh, wow.
So there was me and like 3 other guys at that month. I don't know, they had a thing against SF guys. Yeah. They're like, there's no way. You guys are all faking. So then SOCOM got involved. The commander of SOCOM, the AMED commander got involved. Like, this was bad. I was diagnosed with malingerer. And
no kidding.
Yeah, I swear.
Wow.
Neurology department at WOMEC. So then they sent me to NICO, the National Trepid Center of Excellence. So that's the gold standard. Yeah. Those are the best of the best. So like whatever they find is
facts.
The thing. It's fact.
That's it.
And they found I left with 17 different diagnoses, everything from post-concussion syndrome. They told me look, you're most likely going to look at early onset dementia, Alzheimer's in the early 50s. I'm 51 now. I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah.
All this stuff, all duty limited, like any one of them would hey, you can't serve anymore. All this stuff. So then that's when I finally went there. Then that was also when they say we're initiating medical retirement proceedings and in my career.
And that was after 21 years.
Yeah.
Correct. Man. Yeah. That's, did those people get held accountable for trying to say you were?
No, I don't think anything came of it.
That's unfortunate. We should.
Yeah.
I think the military's done better nowadays. I think than that during the earlier years. Cause what year was that when
that
you
was,
retired?
2011.
2011. Yeah. I think they've gotten a lot better since then.
Without
for
a doubt.
sure.
There's accountability now.
Yeah. There's for sure accountability now. Cause that's a real problem. Cause then if you were injured during service, like obviously you're entitled to benefits to get your stuff taken care of because you sacrificed your own flesh in defense of the nation, the Constitution, and, in the pursuit of accomplishing America's missions. So I'm glad that,
didn't expect to hear that, right?
Well, yeah. I didn't expect to hear that. Yeah. I was always curious. I wanted to hear like what happened. Cause it's the most, like, first off, it's the most gangster looking battle scar you can ever have, dude. Cause it's like, you've got the perfect line and then like the different colored eye. And it's just like, I want to mess with that guy. I don't know what he's done.
I'm trying to be that warrior in the garden, man. I'm trying to be a nice, kind guy. But like, so I'll share this. So a little bit more people are like, well, why is if he didn't lose his eye, why is it a different color? So I wear, it's like a prosthetic lens. It's an occlusive lens. Okay. So I used to wear an eye patch, and outside of the 10,000,
also a gangster thing to do.
Yeah. But the jokes are just stupid. It's just like, I got tired of all the pirate jokes.
Oh, I'm sure.
For anybody that's active, if you ever work out with an eye patch on, you sweat. It's weird about like sweating. Yeah. I didn't mind sweating with goggles. I don't know. It's just me. Yeah. Like I didn't like it, and it would shift, and I just did not like it. So I looked, and I found a doctor. He was like, "Hey, look, I can make these prosthetic lenses that will occlude a portion of your vision to where I don't lose total. I don't lose my all vision. Right? Yeah. I'll maintain some depth perception. Yeah, but." Because if I put an eye patch on, then it's all dependent on my one eye. Now I can't see anything past this finger. Yeah. But this one allows a little bit of visual in to where I can see all the way over here. Okay.
But at least you've got a little bit something left.
But I'm right-handed, so my right eye I see one of you. I take this off, I'm going to see two of you, two cats sitting right there. Oh, okay, yeah. So anyway, it helped in a number of different ways. The first one they had was like a blue color, so I was wearing it. And they're like, "Hey, Rod, we got one, but it's blue. We can make one your eye color in a few months. They're different. They're not like they look like contact, but they're not contact lenses. It's called a prosthetic lens." And I'm like, "Dude, I'll wear a red rubber clown nose if you can help me, man. I don't care." He's like, "Okay, here it is, blue." So why is it still blue? I was traveling. I was in the DCA in National Reagan Airport. And some people are born like this. It's called heterochromia. Some people are. Yeah. I'm standing in line and I turn around for whatever reason. And there's a little girl. She might have been 7, 8 years old, maybe 6. Her eyes were identical to mine. She had one brown eye and one blue eye. And she goes, "Mommy, that man has eyes like I do." I said, "Sweetheart, no, you don't." I said, the good Lord made you that way. I said, "Look, I said, I'm trying to be as beautiful as you. I have to wear a special lens." She goes, "Well, why?" I said, "Well, I was a soldier. I used to be a soldier in the Army, and I got blown up a few times and some stuff happened." And I said, "Look, so I wear something to try and be as pretty as you." And she got all blushed and, stood behind her mom. Her mom was smiling the whole time.
That impacted that young girl for the rest of her life. I promise you.
So I was like next for the agent. So I go through the agent, we go through, go in there at the park, we put in the recombobulation point, right? Where you put your belts on and all that other stuff. And the mother comes over to me and she goes, "Thank you for that." I go, "For what?" "I got a beautiful little girl over there, and she was there. Like, I think she was like putting her blanket in her backpack or something. And I look over at her and she goes, "No, she goes, my daughter gets bullied relentlessly because of her eyes. I've never heard her say anything positive about her eyes. She just told me she's proud to have eyes like a soldier."
That's awesome, man.
So that was 2014. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not ever going to match it. So that's why they don't match. I don't know her. I didn't stay in touch.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I know for a fact that gave that girl some courage right there. And it also probably changed her life. Cause like that, her whole perspective of everything, eyes like a soldier, And that's just, I love stories like that because that just goes to show you how much of an impact you as one human being can have on someone else's entire life, and the fact that she was getting bullied and dealing with all that crap. And then like to have, a stranger come up and tell her like, "You are beautiful exactly the way you are. And that's exactly how God intended for you to be." Yeah. And people need that, man. People need that.
Mean, she's probably like, I guess maybe 20 now or something. And, but when I saw her and she said that, I was like, man, I remembered every kid I'd ever come across. Yeah. I'm like, all right. So that's why I don't match, and I've only told that story a few times, like on interviewer podcasts, because that was my story but I think, that's just like what you said. I think we all have an opportunity, even if you're like the gas station getting your Red Bull or whatever it is you're buying, or your coffee, just, and the clerk, his name's Joe, and hey, thanks, Joe, have a great day. And just acknowledge them as a human. I think we've gotten a little bit away from that. Just remember who we are. So.
Yeah, I think random acts of kindness like that go a long way, because you never know what people got going on in their lives. Like that little girl, they may be going through a hard time. Maybe just somebody being like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" Or "Good morning." Yeah, so just say something nice to them.
Basic human respect and decency, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, you can really have a massive impact, especially at scale, when you've got thousands of people that do that thing on the same, like on the daily basis. We could all do better about that. I could do better about that myself. So I appreciate you sharing that story. I think that's going to be, that right there is going to impact some people, just hearing that. Before we wrap up, I want to get into the Global War on Terror Memorial that you've been spearheading, because I think that's a very important part of your story as well, and an important part of a lot of people's story, because it's going to be that memorial for the blood, sweat, and tears and the sacrifices that were made in the War on Terror. So when did you get involved in that? How did that get started?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not one of the founders. It was a group in 2015, a group of family members and veterans and National Guardsmen came together. They recognized the need, and there was believe it or not, there were a lot of people trying to do this. Yeah. There's a traveling memorial. James, he didn't want to deal with the 24-step process to build a national memorial and museum in Washington, D.C.
24-step, yeah.
I don't blame him for that, but he built a traveling one, right? And so there's a lot of people. So memorialization, I think people didn't understand, that goes to the core fiber of who we are as humans. It's a definition of humanity. Matter of fact, the very first structures, the very first things we ever kind of built were burial mounds. There's this cave system that they found that, remember, we're living in caves at this point, early man. If you follow one of the caverns, you go up into a spot, and then it opens up into a chamber. That's their cemetery. That's there where they interred their dead. So before we built the grass hut, we were respecting we're the only species to do that. Yeah. So, they saw that, and they came together, and I met them in 2016, and they're like, "Hey, Rod, we need help." I'm like, "Who are you? What are you doing?
Who are you? What do you want from me?"
Doing? And they told me, and my oldest son was about to enlist, and I'm like, damn. This is different, because I started thinking about it. And this was prior to his first deployment to Afghanistan. But then I was thinking about it. I'm like, damn, man, we're already moving into a whole other generation. My son's first memories as a 4-year-old when the towers fell, right? Those are his first memories. I mean, he's deployed to Afghanistan. I've been the same region I was deployed to, the same region his mother was deployed to. Which is crazy, right?
That's crazy that mothers and sons could have fought in the same place.
Exactly. So it's unique. So I joined the team in 2015. And then in 2016, after, in 2017, we introduced a piece of legislation to get an authorization to build, or to get an exemption from a federal law that states a war has to be over a period of 10 years before a war memorial can be built. That law was written in 1986. I don't fault Congress or anybody passing at that point. There's no way they could forecast that we would be in this multi-generational war today. Yeah. We introduced it in 2017, swept through the House and Senate. August 2017, President Trump signed that into law. And at that point, this good idea fairy became a reality, and the staff of responsibility was handed to this small 501c3 of veterans and family members with no money. And we're like, with no money, how do you build this? Like, what do you do? Yeah. So I stepped into leadership shortly thereafterwards, and like, all right, well, I'll try. Yeah. Right. So I started building what everyone will see today. The first thing I did when I stepped in leadership position was ask people, where do they think it should be built? If they want it on the National Mall, which was closed. Nothing new has been approved to be built on the National Mall since 2003. I needed to know that. I feel it belongs there with the other memorials. Yeah. But this is not my memorial. Even though I have a lot of, I'm not an expert in it. It's not mine. Yeah. It's ours. Yeah. I did that in 2018. Everyone said that's what people I talked to, the 200 people I talked to, that's what they wanted. Okay. I'm going back. So I met with the bureaucratic agencies that control this space. It's not Capitol Hill. Yeah. It's a Commission of Fine Arts, National Capital Planning Commission, National Capital Memorial Advisory Commission, Department of the Interior, National Park Service, a whole bunch of bureaucratic agencies, right? Which is fine. It's a process. Sure. Told them, hey, we're going to do it. They're, Rod, you can't. I go, we want to build it on the mall, on the reserve portion of National Mall. They're like, you can't. I said, well, if I pass another bill, I can. You just don't think I can do that. Yeah. And this was 2019. And
they're saying you can't. You're like, well, I'm going to get a bill passed.
Yeah, they don't think I could. is what they were saying. Because another thing they said was like, Rod, look, a lot of people with a lot more influence and a lot more money have failed. You're not going to be able to do it. It's going to take you 10, 15 years, tens of millions of dollars, and it's still not going to get done. And we're going to fight you every step of the way because it's law.
Yeah.
That's law. Congress said no more. They deemed the National Mall, the reserve portion, a finished work of art in 2003. Okay. There was some stuff that was grandfathered in. They got their spots before it's closed, but that's their job to enforce the law.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, people with a lot more, Jews have failed. They're not going to be able to do it. I said, I'm not here to ask you. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do.
Yeah. I'm not here to ask you. I'm exactly. telling you this.
So they're like, okay, cool. It was a short meeting. And I left. Yeah. I went to work on Capitol Hill. I'm not a lobbyist, not a politics guy, right? I don't engage in policy or politics. It's about people and patriotism. That's what this mission is about.
Yeah. So
I did through various veteran leadership in the House and the Senate, started working it. And, as hard as it could. So in December of 2021, a few months after I came back from Somalia, President Biden signed my bill into law, and I effectively overturned the apple cart at this point by getting an exemption to build it on the National Mall.
Yeah, and it was right after the evacuation, the exit from Afghanistan too. So
yep. So we approved that, and we got our site. And, we've been working on a design right now. The design approach is very different. I always wondered how many Vietnam veterans did Maya Lin, the designer of the Vietnam Wall, talk to. As an artist myself, I got into art when I was at Walter Reed. If I was approached by a bunch of women and I work in steel and they're like, Rod, could you forge us something on what it's like to give birth? I've got 3 sons. I was there for the birth of 2. I've delivered 20 babies in third world countries. I still have a lot of questions.
You delivered 20 babies.
I told you.
You are a man of many talents, bro.
Everything overseas. I love that. I mean, that's the only number I'm going to share as far as things I've done. I love that so much. So all that being said, from an artistic view, like why do we allow one person or one team to take on from an artistic lens, their own view? Because that's what it is. And I think it's beautiful. I'm not throwing shade at anything, but I wanted to bring the voice to our nation's capital. I wanted us heard legitimately. So my approach is different. Yeah. I was like, all right, we're going to do this differently. I want a world-class designer to step in that has the ability to design in this space, a big shark in a big shark tank, right? Yeah. Has the credibility. I want to make sure there's nothing weird that's going to detract from the mission. Yeah. And they need to be humble. Those are pillars. That's my center pillar, humility. You got to understand involvement in this project's got nothing to do with you. Just like this is not my memorial. It's ours. We did that. We found them. But then in addition to this, I created a design advisory council of our stakeholders, 23 stakeholders. We have the very first widow of the GWOT, Shannon Spann, Johnny Michael Spann, killed November 25th, 2001, member of Team Alpha, first casualty from combat. She's part of that. So she's been involved with the design, as is Alex Hernandez, Team Alpha, the CIA team leader. Alex is part of my team. So I brought them in because it's more than uniform and uniform service. There are over 7,000 individuals in uniform we've lost their lives. Uniform, right? 2019, Department of Labor put out a report trying to figure out how many non-uniformed people we've lost. Mike being one of them, right? He's working for the CIA. He was a Marine at one point, but he was working for the CIA. To the best of their knowledge, with information they gathered, they found 3,400. Think about them for a second. And anybody who's deployed knows for a fact it wasn't just people in uniform doing what we do, whether they were delivering beans and bullets or serving us or whatever it was, the fuel, what doesn't matter. Yeah. They're performing a mission that was once performed by us in uniform at one point. If you look at the numbers that they started collecting, uniform to non-uniform individual on the battlefield, the war space, the battle space, earliest was Desert Storm. Sometimes it was 50, 75 uniform to 1. Now it's 1 to 1, 1 to 2 in some points. So I want to tell the whole story because in my career in the military, I would go on target and there were guys dressed like me, looking like me, carrying the same crap. They're in the military, FBI guys, other agencies. So why don't we talk about that? I want to tell the whole story and bring everyone. So that's why we have Shannon involved. That's why we have Alex involved. We've got a chaplain. This is still a nation of spirituality. I think Army chaplains do it the best. So we have a chaplain that's part of this, who's a GWOT vet himself. Yeah. He also played in the NFL as a Super Bowl champion too. Oh, wow. Cool. Yeah, he's cool. I've known him since I was 10. We grew up together. We have Gold Star family members. We have everyone involved. And then there's one seat I wanted to reserve for the future because this is open-ended. Make no question, there are men and women out there serving. The AUMF, Authorization to Use Military Force, signed September 18, 2001, which empowers our nation to go fight terrorists globally. Yeah. It's still in effect, right?
Yeah.
So we still have them out there.
Yeah,
right?
we got guys out there right now.
So I wanted one, but I took a little bit of responsibility for it because I didn't want to influence a future service member. But I know one that plans to enlist. This young gentleman has watched his brother, his father, and his mother go fight in this war and is planning on enlisting. That's my youngest son. So all of them, through series of engagements, inspired the artist. Talk to them, right? And that is what's shaping the memorial, which we're going to unveil here in a couple months. In November, you'll get to see what it looks like. I shared a sneak peek yesterday.
Okay.
A certain design element of it. But then in addition to that, I have to get it approved and funded. I got to go back to those bureaucratic agencies that exist. And I work with them. They're not enemies, right? They're doing it. I respect the process. Hope to start digging by early 27 and dedicate it November 25th, 2028. Why November 25th? Because that's when Johnny Michael Spann was killed. So that's the memorial. That's why we're at. And people need to remember that never we existed as a nation where sons and daughters, mothers and fathers went off to fight in a war. Or a mother and father want to fight in the war, where their sons and daughters watch them do that, only to serve in that same war, right? That's never happened.
Yeah.
So when my son deployed in the Helmand province of Afghanistan in 2018, I'm standing there at Green Ramp at Fort Bragg. His mother, Kelly, we're not married anymore, but that's why I still call her my best friend. She absolutely is just,
special relationship with the mother of your children.
Special, very, very special. Yeah. And not to blame our military service, but it's hard to keep a relationship with a lot of that. But anyway, she had been deployed to Helmand province. So I'm sitting there like, how do I find some solace? Give them that hug of hope. Hope it's not the last one.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is what my dad felt like when I deployed on any of my deployments. But I started thinking about Mount Nor, and I'm like, no, there's no way he would know what this is like. Because what would it be like for my dad? What would it have been like for my dad to watch me graduate airborne school and go fight the Viet Cong?
That would have been hard.
Or conversely, my father to complete his artillery training in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and go fight Nazis to serve in the Pacific like my grandfather. Right? When I say it like that, stark. It grabs people's attention, but that's the reality today, fought by such a small percent of our population, which is why it's so damn important for me to grab our voice and to have us heard in this space, in the city that writes the policy and makes the decisions to send our sons and daughters and mothers and fathers off to fight, to give us a space to come and talk, to have those engagements, to have those dialogues, to truly welcome everyone home, and allow us to walk alongside each other again. So the design element I shared yesterday is along the footpaths. What you're going to see are footprints.
Yeah, but by the time this comes out, we'll get a copy. It'll be probably a month or two anyway, because there's just timeline and everything. But I'll reach back out whenever you've unveiled it to the public, so that way I'm not like leaking it before you planned and stuff.
Absolutely.
And we'll get that. That way we can put this in the trailer for this as well, so people can kind of get an idea, kind of a little bit about it. Because I think what you're doing is great, and I think that it's needed. Because there's a lot of people that, like you said, this is the first war. I think the last military that encountered, sons and mothers and grandfathers all fighting in the same wars would probably be like the Roman Empire, because they would have like wars that would last 20, 30 years or something crazy. Right. And like your grandfather fought in the same war that you're fighting in, like that weird stuff like that. This is the first time America's had something like this happen. So, definitely going to have a massive impact on a lot of people, having something that commemorates the sacrifices that these multiple generations of Americans have made in defense of the nation and to make the world a better place. So I think what you're doing is awesome work. And I love the fact that when those people were like, we're going to fight you every step of the way, and you're like, I'm just going to keep going. Yeah, I'm good. We're going to do this. I'm not asking you permission. I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. We need people like that desperately, because there's all these bureaucrats out there that want to just say, oh, just give up because you can't do anything about it. Like, I don't think they understood like the adversity that you overcame to get to the position that you were in the first place. And we need people like that. We need resilient Americans that are willing to keep going, to do more, like what your father was saying, to do more, and I got immense respect for that. And I think that we could use more people that have that ingrained in their minds, because I think that Americans are some unbelievable people, come from all walks of life, all different creeds, nationalities, race, religion, all that stuff, man, from all over the planet. And we congregate these exceptional human beings here in this country, and we are capable of some amazing things together. And I love that about this place. But I know you have to get back. I don't want to make you late or anything here. Sir, I appreciate your time.
Man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you sharing some of your experiences with everybody here, man. This was very valuable for me. There's a lot that I learned from this that thinking about from your experiences, that this has been amazing for me. And I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me and share some of your experiences, especially some of the ones that are deeply personal to you. And I can tell you right now, I know that there will be a lot of people that will see this that are going to be like, that this is going to touch them in a special way. Especially a lot of these personal experiences about like the children that you encountered while you were performing medical care in far off distant lands. And then your encounter with the young lady at the airport. That is, that's some powerful stuff, man.
All I'm doing is sharing my dos centavos. I think everyone has an opportunity every day to share their stories. Everyone's facing something. Everyone has the ability to keep moving forward, and with especially like with the memorial, the thing that's driving me the most is, we talked about it at the start, is I want everyone that gave in this incredibly complex and difficult to define war to realize that they mattered, that this mattered. Even for those few moments, I'll fight all day long for 20 minutes of happiness, right? I will. Yeah. So it mattered, I want them to feel like it mattered. They're visible and they're seen. My goal really, if I was to say, what is the goal of this, is to make sure that those that served and sacrificed and their families feel value. Yeah. Because if someone feels value, you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to kill themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've had a problem with that for a long time, still are. And just because you're never going to bring that number down to zero doesn't mean that you don't keep trying to.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, sir, again, I appreciate you taking the time, brother. It means a lot. This has been an unbelievably powerful conversation, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. It means a lot, man.
Well, you mean a lot. I want to thank you for your continued leadership in this space, man. I love your approach. I love how you just tell it like it is, and you don't come across as having an agenda. There's no ROI for you. You're just like, hey, look, let's talk about these things. Having a respectful dialogue, which I think, and sometimes maybe agree to disagree, but do it in a respectful manner. And I think you're one of the ones that's doing a really good job, so I do appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother, man. That means a lot, especially coming from somebody as bad as you, dude. I swear to God.
Old guy. Grandpa at this point, so I'm all good.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate your time, and we'll see you here back at the conference.
Absolutely, Godspeed.
All right, brother.